Hello, 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 everybody. Hell, sorry. Why am I losing my mind? Hello, 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 everybody. That was my brain short circuiting because I was like, wait a minute, I left the audio on. Let me start that again.
Mm.
Hello, 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 everybody. This is the line on the Transatlantic Call-In Show. We are live here with Lux and Josie, where you get to talk to real life trans people about, trans things. You can call in about pretty much anything that goes through your mind. If you think we shouldn't exist, or do you want to know more about why we exist? That's what we're here for. So yeah, Lux, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I have had a very silly realization recently, which is that I think I need two pairs of glasses, which is not to say I need two different prescriptions of glasses. Because what I really want the next time I get glasses is these are just for up close, and
Yeah.
I would like to get astigmatism glasses with an up close portion on them. You know what I mean?
You
Um,
mean bifocals?
yeah.
They
Yeah,
have
but
those.
I'm just I'm just explaining what the two different windows are for. Um, so I want glasses that I can wear everywhere because I just would like to be able to see in general. But I need a mask and a femme cut of glasses, I think, because I just
Oh,
these are
okay.
just not quite these are not quite vibing with the trans mask vibes today. Um,
Oh, I see. I
so but
see.
anyway, I
Yeah,
just think that that's a
totally get
silly
it.
thing about being non-binary.
I totally understand. I had bifocals for like a year of my
Mm,
life, and apparently all I needed was a year, and then my eyes like fixed themselves.
okay,
It's like a very
interesting.
sometimes that happens. So like
Mm,
you can do that. So I had no line bifocals, so nobody knew I had them.
yeah,
So that way I just used them as my everyday glasses like I do now. But
yeah,
yeah,
makes
and then
sense.
after a year, my eyes just like healed. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's like when you strain your eyes all the time, your eyesight gets worse. So I guess once you let your eyes relax because your vision's being corrected, then your vision can kind of like get
Yeah.
better. It seems like it should be the opposite. Like that working out the muscle makes it stronger, but nope, it makes it worse. Eye strain is bad for you.
Well, I had my niece had to have an eye patch on her
Mm.
eye for like a year because her other eye was so strong it was weakening the other eye.
Oh, weird.
So you had to like block out one eye to strengthen the other eye until
Interesting.
they were equal, and then she was able to take an eye patch off. So like she was like
That's
this like
fun.
little 6 year old running around with an eye patch. Just
Just a little
like
pirate child.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
little
I love
pirate
that.
child. Yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly.
Amazing. What a shoe
So
in for the Halloween costume that year.
I know, right? Easy choices. But anyways, so yes, call in. This is a debate show. And if you are in the United States, call in to 720-619-2288. And if you're out of the country, please use the caller that is in the link below. Also, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, what are you doing? Like, what you got to do that. Do that now.
It's
It's
quick,
really
it's easy, it's
helpful.
free. Do it.
Yes, do it. Also, we read super chats at the end of the show. So if $5 or more, we'll read your super chat. And on TACIS here on the Transatlantic Call-In Show, we actually will we do a competition. So if you write hashtag Team Lux, hashtag Team Josie, the loser of that competition will have to argue a position. Last week, I got to argue that TERFs do not, transphobes do not deserve dessert. And I think that was the best one that I've ever debated for
Yeah.
because there was just so many innuendos of how their bitterness will ruin anything that is sweet. So keep your tongues away from me, type thing. So it
Yeah,
was a
it
fun
was
time. It
funny.
was a fun time. It was good. It was good. So
Yep.
yeah. So let's before we get started, make sure you call in to make sure the lines are open. And the amazing Arden will be screening your calls. So if you want to have a chat with Arden, well, that's a way to do it. But make sure you have a good debate topic. With that, we'll go ahead and go into last week's poll.
Mm. She's probably screened.
and she is in the middle of screening the calls, so the
That's okay.
multitasking is hard because Lux knows that life.
I know that life. Producer
Yeah,
life. There we go.
yeah. So should anti-trans messaging be banned from inclusive spaces? And option choices was yes, it should be banned. Anti-trans isn't inclusive, and no, it shouldn't be banned. We don't have to include everyone. And not surprising, 94% said yes, it should be banned. Anti-trans isn't inclusive. Lux, do you have anything to say to this?
Yeah, if y'all don't remember, this was something to do with the WNBA. I think some transphobes basically purchased some front row tickets and they wore an inflammatory anti-trans message on their t-shirts. And someone who works for one of the teams or
I
for the
think one of the
WNBA,
players,
maybe one of
wasn't
the
it one of,
players, I don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
But so someone complained in an official capacity about these people, and they were like, "I would like these people to be removed. This message is hateful. This is supposed to be an inclusive space." Um, and then people were mad at that woman for it, and it was a woman, right? Who was like, "I'm pro-trans. This anti-trans message isn't welcome here at this women's sports team area." Uh, so yeah, it's interesting. Like, oh, protect women, but they don't seem interested in listening to women when they say like trans women are not a harm threat or threat to me in any way. And that they don't appreciate that message. Basically, like, someone. I don't think someone should be able to basically buy advertising space at a basketball game or any kind of
yeah,
baseball game. Like, I mean, there's, the official capacity in which, you get advertisements for those kind of events, but I don't think that you should be able to just buy seats and basically put an advertisement there, which is effectively what this is, or a political slogan or a
yeah.
propaganda or whatever. So, yeah, it seems like there should be, if there's not already some kind of robust rule around that, um, or like, when I was in school, you couldn't wear messages that could be construed as hate speech on your clothing. So, like, is there not a rule or something about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like,
what
if
was
somebody had the
really,
N word on their T-shirt, would they let them
yeah,
hang out courtside? Like, I don't think so.
yeah, that is true. But I do think I heard there was a coach in the NW I mean, I'm sorry, in the can't speak today. WNBA that wore a trans inclusive shirt during the game,
Hmm,
in response, and I thought
that's
it
cool.
was really great. So it was pretty cool to see that as well. So yeah, we are in that world, as corporations across the country as well are starting to pull funding from corporations and like government agencies. Obviously, we know about government agencies, but a lot of like national, even like nonprofit groups that give money to groups are pulling out of giving money to queer groups because they are risk assessment, and their risk assessment says to give
Yeah.
money to queer groups is a risk in the current political climate. So we're seeing a lot of really damaging things to even our core, queer organizations across the country. So it's getting rough out there. It's getting rough out there. But like all things, this will come to an end. At least I need that to be true. As we did see some bright spots in the last election because we had two trans women get elected in a primary. So
Yeah.
we have more happen, one in Washington and one in Michigan. So Michigan had a good night. It was a good night, Michigan. For the most part, we did have some heartbreakers, but other than that, most of the seats that we wanted went the right direction. But anyways, because I can't stop talking about politics, I had to talk about that kind of hope. So let's look at this week's poll. After 2 years of reviewing the evidence for trans youth care, how do you think the Dutch review ruled? So do you think they restrict it or will they recommend it? Is it ruled or will rule? This
Um,
it, it seems like
okay, so it's just come
ruled
out.
past tense. Okay.
Cool.
Well, I am behind the times and I have not read it.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing, oh man, I don't know. Now why this is a Josie trap? Like you are
Yep.
trapping me right now because now I'm like my brain is gonna be itching to
Hmm.
know what the answer is. So
We see
so
you shiver with Antissa. it's going to be fine.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be
yeah,
okay.
because we'll get around to this after we take a few calls, or maybe one or two calls. We'll come back and talk about this more and discuss the results and all that jazz. I will say, guys, the lines are filling up with advice calls. And while we love you very much, we only really have like 2 spots for advice calls. So if you are waiting in the queue for an advice call and the screener hasn't taken you yet, it's probably because we have already filled up those 2 spots. We really want to have I say we want to have an argument. We want to work through a disagreement. We are
Yeah.
trans. I'm non-binary. So we could talk about that. We believe that being trans is natural. We believe that it's good. We believe that it's morally neutral, if not morally good, perhaps, to be trans. We think that children deserve access to gender affirming care. We definitely think that adults deserve access to gender affirming care, notably free of stigma. We think that trans people should be able to move through society without, being bothered for being trans or without facing discrimination. We don't think that people should be able to decline to do business with us just because we're trans. I know some people do believe that you should have like a religious exemption or something to just performing basic societal things, like performing basic things like transactions, business transactions. You want to
No, you
deny
can't
trans
do
people?
you can't do transactions.
That's true.
That's
You got
there's
me.
too it's too transy. Like it's
Wow.
like yeah, what are
I
you
missed that
thinking?
one. How could I have done this?
Wow, look at you. Um, so with that, let's go ahead and take one of these calls. We have Jason, any all pronouns from New Zealand, 52. You are live on the line on the Transatlantic Holland show with Lux and Josie. Yeah, so you believe that trans sports bans don't go far enough. So please let us know about it. What do you
Yeah,
think?
that's right, Josie. It might be a little bit misleading the way that I put that, though. I yeah, I think we should ban all paid sport.
Okay.
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 I think it. I think it. I think sports, like professional sport, is an overall negative on the world, because it encourages negative tribalism, and it also encourages people to support their team regardless of the actions of team members. So, for example, you'll often have people cheering for their team when they're cheating to win. Um, so yeah, I think that feeds into every aspect of life, you know, and leads to the types of things that we see in government as well, where Republicans are more than willing to cheer on their side, even when they're doing horrible things. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Got
and
it.
of course, of course, we see that in religions as well, or even in other groups. But I think sport is one thing that we have contact with from when we're quite young, and it's encouraged. And yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
negative behaviour that's encouraged in the service of winning. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, it's like, is sports bad or is capitalism bad? Jason, I come to like every single question like this when we're talking about like professional paid sports. It's like, is the problem that you can, like, okay, so having a career in sports, if there was no money involved, do we think it would still engender these same problems? Or is it because there's a financial incentive involved? Is that what makes people turn to doping? And is that what makes people, unhealthily push themselves when they just got over a COVID infection a week ago and then they have complications because they pushed themselves during the recovery period? Like I think that it's probably capitalism in many, many of these situations. And I don't know that I have a lot else to contribute because I think mostly it's a silly position.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to abolish sports, but yeah, like it's like the military industrial complex. Like, yeah, it's something that we can critique from a lot of different angles in that way.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that like short show called Subway Takes. I feel like that's one of those Subway takes where it's like,
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. It's like, and I have to say 100% disagree.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that I think if you want to say and just to get your take right, originally you said to take out the financial incentive of sports. Was that your initial take? It's not get rid of sports altogether, right?
Yeah, that's right. So
Okay.
if people want to want to participate in things, whether it's art or sport or whatever,
Yeah.
because they enjoy it,
Yes.
then that would be fine. But it's the finances that seem to be very, and of course, Lux is right as usual. So yeah,
Right after a super chat just came in that says
capitalism is.
hashtag Team Lux is always right, which is true.
um, so
Yeah.
yeah, so Jason, so the way that I would say is I don't the idea of I think that the capitalism angle is the correct one in a lot of ways because it's like the idea of the financial incentivization is I think part of I think how people like kind of tribalize, but honestly even when sports was like a thing that was like just part-time, like if you think about like how all national like professional athletes began, like look at Babe Ruth, like the guy I think had like a part-time job and was like smoking cigars and like a drunkard as far as I think anyway. I'm not sure, maybe I'm slandering Babe Ruth,
Yeah.
but the idea is like
Yeah.
people still appreciated sports in that case. And I think that humans have this need to kind of like, there's the competition aspect to it, and could athletes I think get paid less? Sure, but I don't think that's where the issue is. I don't think it's the athletes that are the problem. I think it's the owners. So when you start thinking about how these billionaires are trading sports teams like playing cards and then force, cities and townships to have to like pay taxes for like elaborate stadiums that they haven't even paid the last one off for, I think that creates a really bad problem because they are using the spirit of, oh, this town is proud of their sports team to be like, oh, now they're going to tax us extra money just so we can watch the sports that we love, because I don't think the fan really cares as long as their sports team is there so they can cheer them on. So yeah, I would have to say that the incentivization of having professional athletes is fine. I think the worrying part is how there are people who don't even play the sport that are the ones making the fortunes on the backs of the athletes, and that to me I think is the real problem. And again, fans will be fans, like that's just how they are. Like, oh, I don't care if this person like abuses his wife, he catches a ball well. So it's like okay, that's a little beyond the line, but that's
Yeah.
what the law is for. The law is supposed to say I don't care
Yeah.
how great of a ball catcher this person is. They broke the
Yes.
law, they should go to jail. So I do believe that. Now
Yeah.
on that point, so I'm guessing, Jason, you are an ally and think that trans people belong to be able to play in sports.
Yeah. Of course,
Okay.
and I think anyone, regardless of who they are, how they identify, should be pulled up for anything actually negative that they do. But we shouldn't assume, based on any other incidental fact of a person's life, that they're more likely to do something negative. We should wait until it's demonstrated and we have actual evidence that somebody's done something wrong, and then we should act appropriately.
Yeah.
But can I pick up on a couple of things you said just there, Josie?
Yes, and I want to also say this real quick before you do, that actually we pay sport
Sure.
athletes too little when it comes to women as well as college as well. We don't even pay our college athletes, and I think that's a big problem. So anyways, go ahead, Jason.
So yeah, I think beyond just the monetary side of things, I think the actual competitive aspect of sports can be a negative when it comes to team sports, because it teaches people to it encourages the tribalism that is such a problem, especially in your country at the moment, and it also like if we had more cooperative activities that we were doing, then it would encourage us to seek more cooperative solutions and work together. Because I think working together is the main advantage that humans have over every other animal.
Yeah. Yes, I am. I guess the thing that I think about a lot is like humans are social animals, and we're always going to do weird social things. I don't know.
I know,
I think
but
it's
I just
embedded
think
in our DNA.
Mhm.
Don't
But
you
yeah, I
think?
just think it's better to encourage people to be cooperative
Oh,
and form
yes.
alliances and work together rather than cooperate and beat each other down kind of thing.
But wouldn't you think
Yeah.
that team
Um,
sports, healthy team sports, actually encourage that though?
um, well, I mean, it's like you'd be probably aware of like some of the prison style experiments and other sociological and psychological experiments were done, which showed that if you put people into groups, that can encourage them to act badly towards people who aren't in the group. Um, and this is something that we do on a societal scale that encourages that negative behavior. And I think it was the Milgram prison
Yes.
experiment, which
But that's a very different thing
kind of
though.
spiraled.
Wouldn't you agree because
I
because
don't think.
the premise of the Milgram experiment is the idea of hierarchy. It's the idea that you are placed above another and then subjugated, in that way. Where in team sports we all say we're equal on the field. It's just going to be by talent and teamwork that allows you to win. You're not trying to think that you're better as people. Like you're not trying to subjugate the other team to your will. It's more of a we're both equals on the field and we're just going to see how we play it, because I think the Milgram experiment is prisoner versus prison guard dynamic is different from like two sports teams meeting eye to eye on the field is a very different thing. Wouldn't you agree?
I see the point, and I think it is definitely something to consider. Um, I do think though that people people who have a strong preference for a sports team um, do tend to look down on other teams um, and, and ignore their own team's wrongdoings. And you might not have heard as much about it, and I don't think it happens as much now. But in the past, there have been soccer riots in the
Of
UK
course. Yes.
where there was a lot of violence that happened, and it was because someone's team didn't win, or they perceived that the other team had done something that they shouldn't have. Um, so yeah, I think it is a pretty short walk from just forming these solid groups with solid group identities to um, acting out against groups that are perceived as other. And I think anything that we can do to minimise that tendency is better for everyone, really.
Well, of course, we should teach people to not destroy their cities because their sports ball team didn't win. And I like I think that is I think good human nature to be able to do that, because I think that goes into riot psychology more than the actual game itself, of like, if everybody starts looting and breaking windows, there's a mentality that people are like, oh, I'm gonna join in, and like, this seems like a good time, I'm gonna be a part of the group and I'm gonna destroy stuff. I think the average onlooker is not gonna be like, I hope my team doesn't win or I'm overturning that police car. I think there's a lot of things that lead up to that, from the alcohol to the person who's already kind of like predestined to want to turn over the car, and they're looking for any excuse to do it. It's just like, I'm ready to turn over a car, just give me a second, let me have a reason, and then maybe the spirit of a game can have that to happen. But I think it's an interesting thought. I think that,
But don't you think it's weird that especially right wingers are so quick to say, oh, video games encourage violence, when there's we have no data to support that, and yet with sports there is a lot of evidence that that competitive aspect encourages violence, and yet there's no outcry against that. Yeah, I just think it's weird.
I guess, and I'll leave this in last to Lux here in a second, but I think that everybody, like, most people, I'm not gonna say everybody, but most people participated in some sport when they were growing up, and some kid. And I think that every coach that I've had, or most coaches that I had, are like, all right, everybody, play nice, don't play clean, don't foul them or anything like that. And then there's the outlier coach who is just like, knock them over if you have to, or throw an elbow here and there. But I think everybody generally feels that that is wrong. I think everybody understands, if like sportsman-like conduct is like the preferred value that you have, and like fairness, and being able to say, hey, I'm gonna play sports and we're gonna win clean, because winning dirty is kind of seen and looked down upon. I don't think that every person going into sports, and I think it's a minority of people that go into sports saying, I'm going to throw an elbow when the ref's not looking. I think that type of player is generally looked down upon, while the person who is like, and I think that's why we put, clean athletes on the Wheaties box. I think that's why it was so devastating when we found out that Lance Armstrong was doping, right? Like people get their medals removed, and people literally have their hearts broken when they find out that their athletes were cheaters this whole time. It's like, well, that sucks, right? And I think that most people want to believe that there is this camaraderie in sports. And maybe because I played a lot of sports when I was in high school, and and I used to run cross country, I used to play soccer, and so for me, I was like, maybe I am the minority. Maybe it was me that was like, let's play nice, everyone. Like, let's not break the leg of the person that we're playing with. I don't know. I just didn't see it in that. And I would say, and then now taking that to the other extreme, I was also in the military. Now, the way that we spoke in the military was dehumanizing. It wasn't, let's go meet everybody fairly on the battlefield. It was like, they're evil, they're wrong, they deserve no human dignity, kill them and destroy them, right? That's the languages that they used in the military. Now, I think that is destructive, because it is making the other person a lesser. It's making them not even worthy of human life and dignity. And I think that there is a difference between there's a chasm of difference between somebody playing sports on the sports field, and somebody in the battle of war that uses dehumanization as their tool to make the other person an other. And I think that happens in politics as well, where where MAGA people are like Democrats are evil and deserve no dignity or human, and then there's also Democrats who are like MAGA people are maggots and they don't deserve rights and things like that either. And I think we all fall victim to that type of sports, because that to me is where I think a lot of the problem is that people with different ideas are seen as lesser and do not deserve human life. Now again, you can draw the line of like
Yeah.
somebody who is like a full-blown Nazi, and like going against that idea that Nazism is a bad thing and that it should never be, seen as an equal idea in the field of ideas. But again, it's like it's that tribalistic thing that we do as humans, where it's like it's all fine in games when it's games. It's like, yeah, we're gonna win, we're gonna work harder, we're gonna beat them on the field, versus like these people don't deserve human life and we're gonna destroy them. And I think there's a huge chasm between those two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I jump in on a couple of things before you,
Sure.
Lux? Is that all right?
Yes, and then we'll move on.
So, yeah. I would say it's more of a continuum, and I've heard sort of growing up and as someone who wasn't into being involved in sports, I've often heard it talked about as like a practice war, or preparing people for battle. I think that's a very current thing in the right wing space, where they encourage especially boys and men to be involved in sport to prepare themselves to do battle. I hear that rhetoric a lot, and yes, while coaches and even individual players may encourage good behavior, the overall structure of the competitive sports endeavor, just like the overall structure of capitalism and the monetary economy, encourages bad behavior or at least rewards it. You know what I mean?
I do, but I think that those are still outliers. I don't think it, and I think there's a moment of, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater? Because I think that there's so many psychological studies that show that team sports actually help, childhood development, for example, of like, camaraderie, sportsmanship, being able to communicate. And I think there's a lot of healthy aspects that team sports do bring to a person. And I think that there is a lot of good. And I think that the people who are using sports as a form of weaponization and turning people into materialistic type of situations, I think that is the outlier and that should be weeded out. But I don't think the answer is to get rid of the good with the bad. I think that we can weed out the bad and find those bad coaches and get them off the field. And of course, we're never going to be able to do that 100%, but I just do feel that there, maybe, I don't know, I've never really advocated for sports so hard in my life, I think right now, but it's definitely something that yeah, I know this is, but I think it is something that I think that there's so much value, and it's also good for people's health, gets people out, have people have, get them off their phones. There's like so many things that we get from it. And so that's why I'm just like,
but I mean, yeah. I think we can achieve all that without having this intense competitive focus. And I just think it's worth considering stuff, especially when stuff is so dominant in our society. It's worth having a skeptical look at things.
I mean, like, and you can even go back to like World War II, where like during the Olympics, right? We had Olympics during World War II, and like athletes wanted to go and beat the Nazis in the field, right? They didn't want to kill him, but they wanted to be like, I'm gonna kick his ass, like, or like when we're in the Cold War with the Russians, where like we had like boxing matches and people are like, yeah, we're gonna beat we're gonna beat them, and for me, I'd rather see that than bombs, right? I'd rather see our athletes go at it, have it.
But see, I think that's another negative thing, because if you can have people go out into a fake arena and get the idea that they're beating the opposition rather than actually going out there and beating the Nazis for real, like beating the negative
Well,
ideas and the
absolutely.
horrible people for real.
Don't get me wrong, but catharsis is important. It's catharsis, right? It's cathartic.
Yeah.
It's a release, a societal release of stress.
Yeah. And that release isn't always good because, like, at the moment in your society especially, I see there's a bit of a danger if people feel like, like they'll hear people mocking Donald Trump, they hear that there's support for the anti-MAGA movement, and they get the idea, okay, all right, that's fine, we've handled things, instead of feeling the actual urgency and the actual those negative feelings that might spur them into actually going and doing what needs to be done, which is voting and taking actual action.
But and I think we are going to move on from this call. We are going to move on from this call, but I really appreciate the conversation. But I do think that sports is a microcosm compared to everything that we're talking about. But I will say that it was a fun thought experiment. I appreciate you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question for Lux?
Quick one, sure.
Cool. When I was at university, I came into contact with a concept called androgyny, which was a different way of seeing gender. Are you aware of that, or?
Yeah, I mean, androgyny is an interesting term because I think what the word actually means is like a mixture of masculine and feminine features. But a lot of the time when we're speaking English, people use androgynous to mean like lacking a particularly gendered direction. Like it almost means like genderless or gender neutral, which can be kind of frustrating if you're very into etymology. But yeah, I'm familiar with the overall concept.
This particular way of seeing gender mapped out gender into 4 quadrants. So there's a typical masculine and feminine, and then it also had 2 additional quadrants. One was androgynous, which meant having high levels or relatively high levels of masculine and feminine characteristics, and then undifferentiated, which was having low aspects of both masculine and feminine gender.
Interesting.
And I think that's an interesting, different way of looking at gender
expression, at least.
I've also seen people add an axis to the masculine, feminine, the spectrum that's like intensity. So from which I guess like one of these is kind of looking at like expression versus one, like we could put the same chart together, but just look at identity versus expression. So yeah, it is a really interesting concept.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason. Appreciate the call.
Awesome.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Cool. All
right. Great. Great.
We have somebody waiting who I would love to talk to.
Let's see. I think I know. I think it's the 1181. Yeah, okay, got it. Yes. I'm gonna do that one.
Oh, are you still on call-in studio? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, that's what's happening because I am hard to do change. Change is tough for me sometimes.
Is that also why you are not seeing our chat?
Yeah, that's exactly why. Okay. I'll log on here in a second. So with that, we have James from Oregon. You are live on the line on the Transatlantic Call-In Show with Lux and Josie. You want to talk about how the process of transition itself is unnatural. So please lay it on us.
I do. I think, and it's not just transitioning. There's this whole movement going on today for body modification. And I don't really view the trans community as being, distinctly separate from that general societal trend, right? Like you see people going to places like Turkey has become super renowned for doing cheap body modifications. And I had mentioned it, when I did the screening, but there was this police officer, I saw it on the news this morning, a police officer, I think she was from Texas or somewhere. She went to Turkey to get some kind of body modification done on her face, and she died in surgery. So there's definitely a cost to the kind of surgical modifications that have become increasingly popular in society. And I feel that it's all synthetic, and it has, maybe people think it has a mental effect on them in terms of how they see themselves. But that process is not natural.
I would like to dig in on that part, because when we're there's a distinction that we draw between kind of what you're talking about as sort of cosmetic procedures. So like somebody getting a hair transplant, or like, a Brazilian butt lift. Like a lot of the times people do those things, and sometimes, the procedure isn't approved in their country. So they go to another country and get, some crazy stuff that we would not normally allow. And that's been a problem for years, right? Like, I think you're familiar. That's been a plastic surgery problem for a long time. But there is a distinction medically, like in the sense that we've studied this a lot, we've looked into it a lot. The distinction medically is that for trans people, there is like a quantifiable, measurable impact on your health, like, and your activities of daily living. Like, if there is something in your life that is impeding your ability to take a shower, then that is a problem that needs to be resolved, right? Whether that's depression or whether that's gender dysphoria, like addressing depression in that situation, like let's say you're just very depressed and you're like, I can't get out of bed right now, is like the application of medicine in that situation is not like an body modification for the sake of body modification, right? What trans people do is not body modification for the sake of. It is medical treatment that enables us to thrive instead of like not being able to take a shower. You know what I mean?
Do you view that as being different than the depressed 50-year-old housewife who wants to get a boob job and it makes her feel better and has the same relative mental effect?
I am not aware of any such cases where the distress associated with that has been clinically significant in the way that it is for trans people, but I would be interested. I do think that like cis people have gender dysphoria sometimes. I just think that it tends to be less intense because you guys are already most of the way there. There's like less of a chasm between what you imagine yourself to be and what you actually look like. So I would be really interested if there was like a clinically significant case of gender dysphoria in a cis person. That person also deserves healthcare in the sense that like if it's making it hard for them to hold down a job, they should be receiving healthcare to address that problem. Like that's the level of treatment that we're at with this. So I don't know of any, but if I heard of one, I would be really fascinated to read about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can really obviously, I haven't done a lot of that research myself by any means, but what I would say is that and it's not like trans people just came out of the woodwork yesterday,
Right.
This is something that's probably documented 1,000 years of this history, right? Well, how did you get along 1,000 years ago, or even 70 years ago, or 80 years ago, prior to all these body modifications becoming available? It's not like, I can't imagine that every person who had trans dysphoria was just killing themselves because they couldn't get these body modification surgeries. I just don't imagine that was the case. Whether or not it does have a marked improvement on mental health, well, there's marked improvement on mental health for people who get all kinds of these surgeries done. You look at what people say their before and after in terms of how they view themselves, in terms of their self-confidence and other things. That's across the board. These body modifications are massive improvements on people's mental health, at least for a time, I'm sure.
James, what we're talking about, well, lots of things that we do are not natural. We as humans kind of evolved. Natural. We evolved to use technology. So yes, everything that we do is natural. But so there's a couple of different contentions that I had in there. First of all, people could absolutely cut off their testicles so that they would not have masculinizing stuff happening to them. There's contention around the claims that some ancient societies would drink the urine of pregnant horses because it has like a high amount of estrogen in it, and it's an animal estrogen, so we have access to it. It's like bioavailable. So it's possible that people could have like cut off their testicles and then drank horse urine to get estrogenizing effects. So in terms of the medical aspect of this, there has certainly been some sort of exploration into that in the past. But obviously medical science only recently advanced. So like probably a lot of people did suffer, but also cultures used to be more broadly accepting of trans identities. And we have found through study that having a supportive person in your life is like a hugely significant impact on mental health for trans people, right? The surgeries and stuff
100%.
can also be a hugely beneficial to people. And we're talking a scale of like severity, James, that, and I would be willing, again, if there's a conversation that we should be having about like, are tattoos a form of like health care in the sense that they resolve a suicidal level of distress? Like we're talking about kids who try to cut off their own body parts because they're so distressed going through puberty, and kids who refuse to leave their room and kids who refuse to take a shower. So I don't know, again, of any level of severity that any other body modification has that could be comparable medically, in the sense that we've medically studied this and we've tried other treatments for trans people. To be clear, we've tried, let's put you on antidepressants, let's put you on antipsychotic medication, let's put you in therapy that's going to try to get you to accept the way you were born. And medically speaking, the thing that resolves the incongruence, if you want to call it that, is just receiving the medical care that you want, and receiving social support also greatly improves those mental health outcomes. So I just don't see these things as being comparable in the way that you see them as being comparable.
And James,
well, I think that it's kind of twofold, right? And you kind of brought up this point just a second ago, because there's different levels of severity, and I kind of see it as kind of two different worlds, right? Where there's the world that's real to that individual, which is this person clearly has trans dysphoria. They need to go through these medical procedures. We should be allowing them to go through those procedures, right? But then there's also the world of the pharmaceutical industry and the medical industry pushing body modifications onto young people. And I do believe that has a marked increase in the last decade.
I feel like you should provide some data for that claim, because I haven't seen any specific advertisement of surgical procedures to children. Like I'm not aware of any cultural shift toward an approval of surgery on children.
I'm not saying it's necessarily for children. This could be for an adult as well.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But
so I'm also not familiar with. I'm also not familiar with any like increased advertisement or like increased rates of surgical access. It feels like less. It feels like there would be less surgical access because the shit's expensive.
Well, 500-fold.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the difference? What's the difference between 10 and 20? Is that's 100-fold, right?
Sure, but in only a 10-year span, you've had a 500% increase in the number of plastic surgeries being performed.
On just generally across.
I'm assuming that's generally.
I'm just saying, like, it's like people who have boob jobs, people who are doing nose jobs, people who are doing labia, plasties.
And actually that's a curious question, because
100%. And these are
I have to get surgery to correct my deviated septum, but it might also require me to get a more in-depth rhinoplasty because there might be structural problems. So does that count as plastic surgery? I think it does. If they restructure my nose, even if it's to make it so I can breathe more easily, that's still plastic surgery.
Well,
it's 100.
Yeah, but is that an elective or non-elective?
Well, the question is, how much is it impacting my quality of life, right? I do not sleep very well. Sometimes I wake up gasping because I'm not breathing because my nose is obstructed. And I wear those little plastic things to make my nose open, and it still doesn't help sometimes. And like hypoxia, like even mild hypoxia can have impacts on your brain and your health. And like not sleeping well has like devastating health impacts as that accumulates. So it's not going to kill me like now, but it might contribute to me dying early later, right? So like how much is it impacting my quality of life? Is it going to kill me? Like, technically it's very elective. Like, I don't need to get it fixed, but I'm going to because I want to breathe, right?
Okay.
So it's like,
Well,
that's
you would
not
still have
natural
a doctor
either.
recommend that. And I
Yeah,
think,
Yeah,
so
but
does
well, you would
that's
still have a
also
doctor
what we do with trans
recommend that.
people.
And I think that that's very different than what we're talking about.
but
But it's
doctors
not.
recommend
And
trans
I'm
stuff.
not saying that. More my point isn't that, is that these surgeries are totally unnecessary for every person who's ever going to get them. That's not my point. My point is that you have, and you can see this in the number of people that are traveling abroad to get these surgeries done. It is
Why are they
vastly
traveling
exponentially
abroad?
increasing.
Why?
They're
James,
traveling
also,
abroad for a
can
number
you
of
be
reasons.
clear?
Number one, you
I need
mentioned
a
is the cost.
clarification. I need a clarification, James. Are we
Yeah, go
having
ahead.
a sprawling conversation about all plastic surgery, or are we talking very specifically about trans surgery? I need us to like pick one and stick with it.
My point to it is that you do have, and I live here in Oregon. People here are very friendly. We're very trans friendly here in Oregon, right? I have no problem with people who are trans. I have friends who are trans, right? That's not my point. My argument is that the surgical aspect of transitioning is definitely profitable for people out there. There is definitely profits to be made on it. And that aspect is being pushed onto people who I believe
James, there's no
are
evidence of that.
then
I don't know that there's any evidence that it's being
victims.
pushed on
Like
people.
I'm trying to push a sale on you of like, oh, well, you're trans, right? And I feel it almost can be a taking advantage of a person.
You're just making
In
this up,
order
though.
to
Where is
get
this
them-
happening? Who is pushing this? Where is it? Okay, because that's a different doctor, right? You know that the doctor who you have your first conversation about surgery with is not a surgeon. So what financial benefit could my primary care physician have if the hospital that I want to get surgery at is a completely different hospital in a completely different state? I have to bring it up to my primary care physician. I have to say, hey, I want this procedure. Okay.
Are you flying
Okay,
to
so
Turkey to
hold
get
on,
these procedures done?
James.
I
So
don't
then it
have the
doesn't
money. So
apply to you.
here's the
There are
question
thousands
on this.
of people.
Sure, here's the question. Do you support universal health care?
Yeah, in principle.
Okay,
Great.
so the solution to this problem is just to do universal health care. That's not going to make plastic surgery happen less necessarily. Like, if you're worried about it being a business and like that is sure, yeah, but like I am not seeing evidence that trans people are being pushed into surgery. Every trans person I've ever talked to who's gotten a procedure done has been like, wow, I wish I had done this sooner and it's improved my life so much. It's not frivolous, it's not cosmetic, it's not for fun. Nobody and like trans people also, like, this might not be the case for some other people, but trans people have to work really hard to access these things. So either you had to save up $30,000 to fly to Thailand and get a surgery done, or you had to get multiple letters of recommendation from psychiatrists.
Everybody, it costs everything. But James, I don't understand. Like, okay, so when you're diagnosed with the procedure, like, let's say you need a hip replaced, right? You know that when you go to a surgeon, the hip replacement, they let you have different models of different hips that have been done, or you can shop around for different surgeons that do it different ways. Do you think that all those different surgeons that are dealing with the diagnosis of the fact that you need a hip replacement are in it for the profit because they give you different options?
Well, I mean, partially, yes. It's profits for the doctor, profits for the hospital, profits for the surgical department.
Just like so
they're trying to offer you something, and they're all offering you something that's a little bit different to try to get you to go there, right?
But yeah,
which they do, yeah, for sure. Like, and they even patent things. Like, there's a patented vasectomy method that only that one doctor can do because he patented the method. You know?
Yeah. And so like, James, it seems like your contention is you're mad that surgeons are trying to make money on a procedure that is in demand.
Well, it's partially like, when you look at, society at large, right? And I'm not saying this is, and like when I started, this is not exclusive to the trans community. But the seeking out of these, I need this, I need that, I need this surgery. I need this surgery now. I mean, you look at Hollywood.
It's
I mean, how
it's
many? I mean,
but
you
a
talk about
lot. But
plastic.
again,
Hollywood is,
James, I understand. I understand what you're
you
trying
think,
to say, but I'm just trying to say it's like your contention just seems to be about like there are surgeons that provide surgeries.
no, my contention is it's the same type of, like, when, like, are you familiar with the Purdue Pharma case with opioids?
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay, yeah. So, and I you know, I've been in that area, living in that area before, so I'm very familiar with it. So, you know, they were doing underhanded advertising, and it's hardly even recognizable. And there's, you know, I encourage you to look into how these companies are advertising for some of these surgeries, and it's targeted. You know, it's targeted towards trans people.
It's not, James. James, it's not.
They know in your
It's
consumer
not.
data that you're in transition. They do.
No, it's
That's
James.
what I'm trying to say.
Do you not think that like we're talking about? So when I as a trans person with with that was diagnosed with gender dysphoria, and just to let you know, like I wasn't some like susceptible person that was like, oh, I think I'm going to be trans today. I was 34 years old. I used to operate nuclear reactors. I was in the Navy. I used to do all that type of stuff. Right. But the thing is, when I said, okay, yes, I am accepting of the fact that I am a trans person and always have been, I then went to doctors and said, okay, tell me the steps of what the transitional process is. And then I also did research on the side. I sought out the care. I was the one, nobody said you need to have a vagina surgery. It was me that made that decision. Nobody told me that I needed to get this because it's so evasive that it's one of those situations where the patient has to seek this type of care out. Now, when I did my own research and figured out what surgeon I wanted to do, that was because I went through the community and I was like, okay, who's the people that provide the surgery around my area? And then I picked a surgeon and I went with it. That's how I did it. There wasn't like an advertisement. Are you telling me right now, because we're talking about trans surgeries, we're going to get ads for trans surgical care on our phones on Facebook? No, that's not how this works. And you got to think about this as well, especially when it comes.
Purdue Pharma never did that for opioids, but they advertised the shit out of opioids.
Purdue Pharma
it's done in
and
a very
opioids.
Underhanded way.
James.
You also need opioids after surgery.
Yeah, like opioids.
What we do now is we don't give people pain surgery treatment. Like I know somebody who just straight up did not have pain management after her cancer surgery. Like we're rebounding the other way now.
And you got to think about it, James. The fact is the number of people that need opioids and the number of people that are prescribed opioids is a drop in the bucket compared to how many people are prescribed HRT for transition related healthcare, people who are getting vaginoplasties, bottom surgeries.
The total number of people,
opioids,
the total,
James, opioids on a far greater basis. There's less than 1% of the population trans.
That's what I'm saying.
5% of the population.
James, do you have connection issues and you can't hear us? You're trying to catch her in a gotcha, but that is what she's saying. She's saying it's not comparable,
Gotcha.
James. Yeah, it's one of the problems maybe is that you keep talking when we are talking, and maybe that's part of the problem because we can't hear each other when we're both talking at the same time. This connection does not really support that. She is saying that it's not comparable because people get prescribed opioids much more often because anybody can be prescribed opioids. Trans people are a very small number of people. So it's one of those situations where maybe it doesn't make sense because, first of all, opioids are needed for pain management for a broad number of procedures, and something being overprescribed, but necessary, it's tricky, right? To get the exact right mixture or the exact right balance to make sure that this person gets the care that they need, but they don't end up with a physical addiction that they didn't want to have, versus, again, we've tried to give trans people other forms of healthcare, and it is really hard to access trans healthcare. Like maybe that's another thing that gets missed in these conversations, that it's really hard to access. Even for the people who fly to Thailand, that's not easy to access. Like a passport and a plane ticket and time off work and being in a foreign country, like having to get a SIM card for a foreign country. It's logistically a lot of work and it's expensive. So whether you go that route or you go through insurance, trans people have to work hard to access this. It's not like surgeons are like, yeah, walk right in. We're doing the surgery today, like half off or whatever. Get an extra vagina for, only 50% more price. That's not happening. So I don't know where the panic is coming from. Like, where is the anxiety coming from?
So to me, like you're talking about like an advertisement for Coca-Cola, right? An open ad where they're directly advertising a product to you. And my argument is that is not my argument. That is not the type of advertising that was ever done for Purdue Pharma.
Social pressure, I guess. Explain to me the social pressure or whatever you mean. Like, you're saying that there is something that is pushing people to do this when they wouldn't otherwise. Explain it to me in detail.
Yeah. Why did I want a vagina surgery? Was it because of outside influence, or is it
Subliminal
because
messages.
I wanted? It's because I wanted one. That's what it was. Because I have a condition called gender dysphoria that got me to the path of searching for the reason I wanted one. That's how that works.
Yeah. But sure. And I'm not arguing that point, right? That you feel that way or that you wanted to go get a surgery done. My argument is that you have gone from, I need these basic things to I need, triple D's and I need this done and this done and this done and this done. Things that have nothing to do with.
I'm flattered.
Like
these are grown from myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
proportionally, it actually makes a lot of sense for trans women to get like the biggest size that they comfortably get because of their generally broader rib cages. So it does make
honestly,
sense.
like not every trans woman gets it. I don't have that type of stuff, and I never have
trans women don't have VA.
Yeah. Like honestly, like for me, it's like when it comes to like chest surgery, like the idea of getting like a Brazilian butt lift, that's like no, hell no, never in a million years, right? Like I there's like all types of different things that I could do theoretically that I will not even do. Like there's things like, for example, like maybe even why is that good? It's just my choice. Like I'm not saying people who do those things are bad. I'm just saying that but James,
you are portraying this as a bad action, though, and we can't figure out why.
But thing about it, though, James, is because I know all these different surgeries exist does not make me want to have them. Because I'm a human being and I get to choose what I want to do with my body. I am happy and excited that I live in a world where if I chose to do those things, I could happily and safely do these things. It's just that I'm not getting these things because it's my choice. And I'm not going to begrudge anybody that chooses to.
That's kind of like, I'm not begrudging the people who are going out and getting the surgeries, right? And you see this a lot in the medical community. Like I mentioned Purdue Pharma because I think Purdue Pharma is probably one of the most recognizable examples, right? But there are many examples in the medical industry because of the ways that they're limited in advertising. They've gotten really, really good at subliminal advertisements. I mean, amazing at it. I mean, to the point where they got, multiple tens of millions of people addicted to opioids.
James,
and they push those opioids through preferred medical physicians, go ahead.
So
and I don't think that the surgery aspect is separate from that.
Society,
across the board.
For example, society would say sex sells, and you see wall-to-wall advertisement with women with big boobs and bikinis, and they're in your face, like boobs are in your face everywhere you go. And there is a lot of psychological studies that say that some people are susceptible to the fact that I need to have big boobs because society says I need to have big boobs. That has nothing to do with the medical industry. That has everything to do with the way society views people's bodies and how bodies are commodified. The idea of the body modification, like you should take a women's studies class, right? A women's studies class on sexuality and body. I took a class when I was in college and I talked a lot about these things, and this was before I came out as trans. I learned a lot about, women's studies and how bodies are commodified, how sex sells, how the idea of the perfect pregnancy is sold in a certain way. Like there's a lot of data that does show that the way the pregnancy industry is commodified in a way where they're trying to tell women to get C-sections so they can get them in and out so the bed is open sooner rather than having natural births. And there's epidurals that people try to get pushed on people. I am not saying, James, like Purdue Pharma, and there are the commodification of very normalized surgical and medical practices. There are look, like a freaking United Healthcare CEO got fucking murdered because of the fact that he was also causing pain and suffering to people because of the way that he was dealing with it. The medical industry, especially in the United States, is absolutely atrocious, wrong, and needs to be completely broken down and reworked from the ground up. I am agreeing with you. That's why we were talking about universal healthcare earlier. The idea that we need to fix our medical process is 100% true. 100%. I could not agree with that case even more. But where I'm getting lost in this conversation is that it started with trans healthcare and trans surgical care, which are both medical necessary type of situations. So the idea that a person is seeking out healthcare, maybe they're getting overcharged. Yeah, that may be the case, but that's a product of the American healthcare system, not because of trans healthcare existence.
I would expand that and say it's not just the American healthcare system, but it's the profitability of the privatized medical system.
I agree,
globally. And I think that
100% agree.
Other things like that, and I think we are on the same on a lot of the same points here, because I'm not coming at it as an attack on trans people. It's more like I feel for people who I believe are being taken advantage of by the medical community at large, whether it's in the United States or elsewhere.
That's why I run for office. That is 100% the case. Now, I guess that's why I think we've been having problems and talking past each other in this conversation, is because your first statement was about the fact that transition is itself is unnatural. Now, I don't know why you started there, because we could agree all day on the commodification of the medical and the privatization of the medical industry has caused so many problems in our healthcare, from outcomes to achieving these to even getting the medication, to the insurance companies, the skeeziness of Purdue Pharma that is getting people addicted to opioids. Like, all of those things are 100%. So why did we start with trans stuff is my question.
Well, because that's what you guys are having the show for, and that was the kind of primary premise of the discussion, was around the trans community.
Okay, so I think that's where we got lost, because because originally when I was thinking about this conversation, you were like, the process itself is unnatural, and I'm like, well, yeah, humans holding cell phones on them for hours a day is also unnatural. But the idea of I was really thinking about the naturalization fallacy of the idea of this is natural, so therefore it is good, when I think humans have been modifying their bodies from the very beginning for long periods of time, and it's very natural for humans to want and do such things.
Yeah, and I think that there, though, is this, kind of plasticizing, kind of process that our society has undergone. I mean, it's a long time coming, but it's definitely getting more and more intense. And you see it at younger and younger ages now. And I think that, when, and I'm not using this as an attack on someone who decides to go out and get the surgery, but there are definitely people who have been, who are not quite as, like yourself, self-aware and have the ability to put their foot down and say no, people who are being taken advantage of, including trans people. And I would say, because the inherent process of transitioning, it probably does involve more than a pill in the morning, right? I don't know what all it entails.
Really.
And
for
I
a
don't
lot of people, that is,
really
for a lot of people, that's it. Yeah. $10 prescription.
So are we going to sue Hegseth for being in bed with big testosterone because he wants to give it the idea, most trans people are going through hormone replacement therapy. And I can tell you right now, there are more women taking estrogen for premenopausal symptoms to try to prevent menopause at an earlier age than they would like, and testosterone replacement
usually
therapy.
It's over 40. And then men, men for testosterone over 50.
So the idea is those are the two medications
between a pill and surgery.
Well, I mean but it doesn't matter, because the trans person is the one seeking out that care because they need the care, right?
Yeah,
because that we can't police how people get care, and when you talk about young people, we're using standards of care, and it's in the trans community's best interest to keep regret rate low. That's why it's like less than 1% when it comes to regret, especially in minors getting surgical care as well. So we know these things, but more people regret knee surgeries than they do transitional related health care.
Also, I just gotta say, doctors are incompetent. Like, okay, I want to circle back to, I brought up my deviated septum earlier.
You're not wrong.
I brought up my deviated septum, James, and you were like, you kind of seemed like you were like, yeah, that's fine though. A doctor would recommend that. Like, it's cool, you know. And like, even though it would be an elective surgery, it would be a plastic surgery. It would improve my quality of life, but it wouldn't save me from dying imminently. So I'm like trying to hone in on like where, you know, what's the distinction between like your overall claim about you don't like all these surgeries, and listen. This surgery would cost me $10,000, except that I have insurance, and so it's going to only cost me like $300, you know. But you know, I pay fucking $600 premium a month, so whatever. But like,
you're still paying for it anyways, just over time.
Yeah, I'm paying for it, right? Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't seem like you take issue with the industry of ear, nose, and throat doctors performing septoplasty. Again, this is just a quality of life surgery. It's completely elective. It's unnatural. We invented it. They're gonna put anesthesia in my face. You know, that's a chemical. Pharma, you know, big pharma making money off of that lidocaine or whatever. So I'm just trying to figure out where is the line, you know, between a surgery that you don't like and a surgery that you're like, I don't really care.
That's kind of the important distinction that I should make here. So, like, to me, right, that line, and you mentioned this earlier because you said that we have a standard of care in the United States. Well, a lot of people, and we talked about this already, going overseas, there's no standard of care in Thailand for you. I mean, there is, but it's not like it is here domestically.
It's like different.
And so,
sure.
Yeah, I would say it's far less, most likely, but I don't know the details.
I just wanted to finish. Sorry, James. I wanted to finish my thought because I remember what I was trying to say. Nobody recommended me for septoplasty, by the way. I had a sleep study done to be like, why am I not sleeping? And they were like, well, you don't seem to have sleep apnea, so whatever. We're like, what do you want us to do? And then I had to say, I think I have a deviated septum and I need to get a CT scan. Like, to be clear, like even with something like that, it was not recommended to me. I had to go out of my way to ask because of like doctors don't seem to be very proactive about finding solutions. So like when you say, oh, doctors are pushing all these procedures, I'm like, every single time I've interacted with a doctor, they have not wanted to give me something that I wanted. Like I had to convince them to give me a test that I wanted or a referral that I wanted. They're not like trying to solve your problems for you in a way that makes money for someone. I don't know if your experience is different, James, but like I am just in no aspect of the medical industry am I seeing proactive medical care, really.
And most surgeons I know have waiting lists.
Yeah,
because
they
have waiting lists because there's so many people that are needing the surgical care that they have. It's not like they're like don't have anybody on their calendar and like, okay, we can get you in next week. It's like, okay, we can get you in a year and a half from now. Right? Like that's usually how these things go. Even for ear, nose, and throat. Oh my God, the waiting lists on those things are incredibly long. I had to get an emergency surgery done because of it. Yeah, and for me, it was like I was lucky to get in 6 months because I had like a massive sinus infection, and I had a massive sinus infection that almost killed me in my head. So they had to go in there for evasive reasons because of my infection that I had. So that was the only reason they were able to push me up. And these are the things that I think about when like surgeons themselves, like they don't have to advertise. Doctors are like, hey, you need this surgery, let me recommend you to this doctor, and this doctor then gets that surgery, and then that's how it goes. So I don't think like, if that's, I think there is a difference between a surgeon that is going to be a surgeon to be a millionaire because their hands are very good at being steady and can do something very, very unique, and they're able to make money on that because there's so few of them. And I think that is a very different than a pill pusher at Purdue Pharma that's trying to make freaking billions of dollars because they're trying to get people addicted to something they know that will kill them over time. I think there's a big difference between those two things.
I don't disagree that there's a huge difference between large pharmaceutical and, you know, your family doctor, right? But your family doctor is not, well, it depends.
Or surgeon.
So,
because
like,
if you're a surgeon,
give you an example, if I can I give you an
there's
example?
not many surgeons.
There aren't that many surgeons. So a lot
demand.
Of the direction of things, right? And I know a few people who actually work in doing plastic surgery, right? So there's kind of two different worlds of plastic surgery, right? Like you have your general hospital, right, which is where you want to go for these things, right? And then you have your specialized private clinics. And so the specialized private clinics, a lot of them are kind of in bed with the big pharmaceutical companies, with big medical provider companies, such as the insurance firms, and they're in direct partnership.
On what, James? This is a conspiracy theory unless you have evidence of this. Like literally, it's a conspiracy theory.
That's why I brought up Purdue Pharma. If you think that's a conspiracy theory, I encourage you to revisit Purdue Pharma because that is exactly what happened.
But James, this is also like there's always going to be skeezy people, like, and there are people who have law firms that they're called ambulance chasers because they go and they just do all these frivolous things, or they are like, they have like a hole in the wall law firm.
Massively ramping up, and that's why you see, and I'm just going to finish with this. You see a massive increase, and if you want to go take estrogen or testosterone, fine. But before you go put yourself under a knife, like you did your research, right? You knew who the best doctors were. You knew where to go. You knew all those things because you really took your time with it. But people who are very anxious, people who are depressed, they might make a split-second decision. And you really shouldn't do that because
there's no such thing as a split-second decision when you're accessing surgery. It doesn't work that way.
James, and I want you to know something about the trans community, because this is a very intimate thing about the trans community. There are pages and pages and pages of documents that trans people as a community have all created, and we all warn each other about bad surgeons. We call them butchers. We literally have a name for them. We call them butchers, and we all raise the flag on people that do this type of shit. I knew a woman, and look, just because these horror stories exist doesn't mean that the surgeries don't need to happen. The problem is that there are skeezy people out there, and the idea is no one is arguing with the fact that there are bad surgeons. There are surgeons that do it for the wrong reasons. But we as a trans community, because this stuff isn't regulated, because of the fact that there is a lot of issues with the medical system, as things that we are all talking about, because we never disagreed that the medical system is super fucked up and insurance companies are super fucked up, because there's very little oversight on these type of things, because nobody wants to do trans surgeries because of the way the government looks at trans stuff now. So that makes it even less likely to be able to get a credible surgery sometimes. So we all talk to each other, and we also sue the hell out of those butchers, and we try to get their malpractice license taken. And guess what they do? They go to another state where they can just recertify and do it again somewhere else. Like, we know that these issues exist. There's articles written on it. There's data on this. But the idea is we understand that as a community almost deeper than most people, because we're talking about our most private bits. James, we don't want freaking butchers going in there and doing things to our most intimate parts of our bodies. Most trans people are looking through this way. And so I just want you to know that this is not something that most trans people do. There are people who are desperate because the medical system isn't supporting them. And I know a woman that got a $5,000 surgery without insurance and was like just like it was like $2,000 or something because the surgeon's like, I need more surgeries, give me a surgery. And she went in because she was desperate. She was unemployed. She wanted the surgery. She spent $2,000 and completely got butchered. She almost died. And you know, so I'm not trying to say that those stories don't exist, but I am trying to say that this isn't something that is so 100% common that we need to raise the warning flags and say to the whole world that there's surgeons like that out there. We know as a community and we talk to each other.
Well, and you know, like what we talked about earlier, I think that this is getting to such a level, and you know, like I said, I mean, I have people that I know that do work in plastic surgery, and they've gone from doing like what you were talking about with getting your sinuses done, or you know, like getting rhinoplasty after an incident or something like that. They've gone from that to doing like 90%. I mean, 90% just putting on fake boobs. I mean, it really is getting to the point now where there are a huge, and I'm not talking just trans people. I mean, just
I know. But the thing is, James, you've seen this. Have you ever heard of the show called Nip Tuck? Have you ever heard of that show?
I've seen Nip Tuck, yeah. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I've seen some.
Okay, but the thing is, like James, you're not uncovering anything that is unknown about the plastic surgery industry. Like, we do know there's a bunch of rich assholes out there that want to get surgeries tomorrow, and they want to go to the best boob job person in the country, and they'll just go, and that person's like, all right, $1 million, please. Right. And like that's just how it is. But it's not happening in the trans community. It's just not. The trans community does not have this issue. Now, the cis person industry, where people are getting boob jobs because they're already cis, or they're getting like all of these different things. Like there's like cis men who get like jaw surgeries that make their jaws more masculine. And, you know, I mean, like what's his face? Carrot Top. You know, like what was that in the background? No, but like, you know, there's like there's like people like what Carrot Top got like fake muscles put in and all this type of stuff. Like, you know, like there is a industry like that. Anyways,
yes, there definitely is. And anyways, my point was that I feel for people who kind of fall into these traps, especially the underhanded subliminal advertising that they do, like what they did with Purdue Pharma. They're still doing now in this way, and it's crazy. You should look up the link between people traveling out to Turkey. They literally go and they literally are traveling abroad and using U.S.-based insurance policies. It's fucking
I don't know
wild.
anything about that.
I encourage you guys to look into it. I encourage you guys to look into it. It's becoming a big problem, I think, and I'm just concerned that people are going to fall into this trap, especially people who are vulnerable, which a lot of our trans friends out there are, unfortunately.
But we do talk to each other.
Anyways,
we do try to warn each other. But James, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Are you streaming right now?
I think he's just got a speakerphone.
No. Stream, okay, because I could hear some feedback. Yeah, I could hear feedback that it was like I felt like somebody was talking to the audience behind you.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, sounds good, James. All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
That was such a strange call.
It was such a strange call, but did you hear that it sounded like somebody was in the background?
I think it was just us. Like, I think it was just, or I mean, maybe there was like.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have been a little bit of them both, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that call.
I don't either.
I was like, stay focused. And he's like, I can't.
Because
his bigger complaint was about plastic surgery in general. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But like, that has nothing to do with us. That was my very first thing is like, yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with trans people. Because we're not accessing it for the same reasons. We don't access it through the same avenues because we have to go through insurance because we're fucking poor. Like trans people don't have $1 million to just get a boob job because we feel like it. So it's like one of those areas where there are salient criticisms, but guess what? Again, it all comes back to capitalism.
It
Stop
is.
talking about trans surgery. If you don't like big pharma, you don't like capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, I went to technically a celebrity, surgeon, and
Mm.
oh my gosh, and the bedside manner was terrible.
Oh, no.
Because it's just like she knew she was one of the best, so she didn't give a fuck. It's just
That's fair.
like,
I've heard that. I've heard that about like Garamoni, who does like so many of the top surgeries out of Florida, that he doesn't have great bedside manner. But he has like such consistent results
yeah,
that people are going to go to him because they know what to expect.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And and a lot of them they don't even take insurance because insurance is so hard to do. And but the
yeah,
hospital was covered, which thank goodness that was covered. But
yeah.
it is what it is. All right, so pick your poison, one or two.
Well, hold on for a second. So it's gonna be a minute again before we can hit the poll. Maybe I wanna like chill for a second before Arden gets back so that we can talk about the poll.
All
Um,
right, chill.
and chill for calls. Yeah, yeah. I want to try to get some more callers in here. So Arden is away right this second. When she gets back, she'll be screening calls again. We are completely full up on advice calls. We've had some people who called in right at the beginning of the show, or like just shoot the shit calls. So we're full up on those. If you have advice that you need, I'm sorry, today's not the day for it. We are full up on that. But we have more lines open for people who have a disagreement with us, right? Like, our last caller kept saying he didn't have a problem with trans people accessing these surgeries that improve our quality of life. But there are people who do take issue with trans people accessing these surgeries, or they say like, oh, whatever, you can do whatever you want to your body, but you're still, at the end of the day, you're still whatever you were born as. So I've seen some people in the vertical chat as well, making some various arguments. There was a dude called Jared earlier. I don't know if Jared's still around, but we have time, guys. We're going to be taking calls for another hour or so. And I want to get at least one more contentious call in that time. That would be ideal so that we
Yeah.
can hammer out some of these differences, dig into the issues.
And we do read super chats,
We do read
$5 or
super
more.
chats.
So hashtag Team Josie, hashtag Team Lux. Like
True.
and subscribe if you haven't liked. Also, join our Patreon. We have a lot more content now. We have an app that you can we're doing.
For our $10 plus members, you can actually influence what we talk about on The Line Has a Podcast by joining it's a news feed, basically. It's a news feed app. So yeah, I keep forgetting about it. I'm like, I want to try having that be where I get my news. Because I'm a host and I have access to it. Because I don't really pay attention to the news right now. So I might as well just kind of glance through and at least see, our audience can click like, oh, I really want you to cover this story. And then it gets like bumped up to the top of the list so we can see what you guys actually want to watch. So that's a really good benefit of the Patreon right now. We also just did LineCon this past weekend. So if you join our Patreon at $5 or more, you can see the video on demand of all our previous LineCon events where our hosts give a 20-minute presentation on a topic of their expertise. So I think we had like, Josie, were you on one recently?
I was on one recently. I talked about the violence of the glass ceiling. It was a good talk. It was a lot of fun. And
it's only available on Patreon until it will go public eventually. But for now, only available on Patreon for at least a few months.
That's right. And we also are going to be doing our Secular Student Alliance fundraiser, and that is going to be on September 5th.
Yeah.
Yes. I believe it's September 5th.
I think he
September
said
19th.
September 19th. We were scheduling it for later in the month. So yeah,
that's right. September 19th.
Solstice weekend.
Yeah, I wish I knew things like that. I'm not witchy enough. I need to get witchier. I do have a tarot card deck, and it is spooky. So it is
two tarot card decks. Did I show you my wand?
I think so, maybe.
My friend Lee makes wands.
Oh, wow.
This is his bone finger wand, so it has a skull, like a rat skull.
Oh,
this is just resin or something, like plastic.
Okay.
But then
it's an actual dragon bone core, right? Like
of course.
Yeah.
It's got a little fingernail on it because he's got like a bone finger thing going on. Anyway, he's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like to just kind of pretend.
Very artsy.
Yeah, I like to pretend to threaten people,
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Pretending? Yeah.
Well, when I'm sitting alone in my office, it's like if you owned a sword, I imagine.
Yeah.
Where you just lay the sword across your lap and you imagine that somebody walks into the high hall of your lordship and is begging for aid for the winter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking on things, have you seen Obsession yet?
I haven't. My partner watched it and said that it was good, so
Oh,
I'll watch it with him sometime soon.
so good. It's so, if you like horror, it is so good. I'm like obsessed with Obsession.
Spooky.
So it is. I mean, horror movies are having the resurgence right now.
They have been for
Um,
like quite a while. We're in a weird like era of horror, the Ari Aster movies and all kinds of crazy stuff. We're like,
Okay, I'm back.
yeah. Hey, it's Arden. She's back. We
Yeah.
wanted to talk about the poll this week. After 2 years of reviewing the evidence for trans youth care, how do you think the Dutch review ruled? I think they recommended it. I think that's what the news is. I don't actually know anything about this, though. This was Arden's recommendation. But basically like a similar type of thing to the cast review, but from the Dutch, and they were basically like, yeah, we should give kids trans care.
I think I
Turns
might
out.
be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was a couple years ago they went back to only providing trans care to youth under like a research setting. But yeah, they not only did they say that it's safe and effective and evidence-based, but they also said that denying trans kids access to the care while like until they get 18 was probably unethical and harmful to those kids. So they didn't just affirm it, they went and was like, oh yeah, the cast review was like probably bad and wrong and evil.
Damn.
Yeah.
They didn't say those
Yeah.
words, but that's the implication of the
Fucking
words they did say.
got him. Well, cool.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good
good.
news. Finally,
Good
some
news.
good news. So when people say cast review, I can say, haha, fuck you. Have you heard of the Dutch review?
There you go.
Yeah,
You can do it, especially when they're trying to bring Europe as part of their answers to things. So
exactly. Like, oh, you want to
yeah.
bring up Europe? Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Awesome. So do we have a call that you wanted to take?
Hold on. I don't know what this one is about. But yeah, we've had some people who've been waiting for a while. So while we wait for our next contentious caller, and by the way, we are waiting for you. 720-619-2288 is our number, and we prioritize the contentious calls. So if we take a friendly caller right now, after we get done with that, if you call in, even though there's other people waiting, if you're like, I have a spicy contention, I want to tell you why trans kids shouldn't have access to healthcare or whatever, or trans people shouldn't use the bathroom that makes them feel the safest in. Call us. We want to have those conversations. We've still got about an hour of calls left. So, but our screener is going to be screening calls in a second. So I see a couple of you are waiting, and we will get to you in a moment. But yeah, we can take either one of the calls if either one of them is fine.
We can go ahead and go with friend of the show, Pip from the UK. How useful is it to rely on cis-normative activity to communicate? You're live on the line with Lux and Josie. Tell us about it.
Hello there. It's nice to talk to you again. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll get straight to the point, in which case, the inaptly named Equity and Human Rights Commission here in the UK passed their guidance yesterday to basically say that trans people need to use the toilets assigned to their, biological sex, which, is not only bullshit, but also completely advisory and optional, and in absolutely no way legally binding. But what I want to discuss is the way that this has often been framed in terms of rebuttals, because we will frequently point to trans people who have fully gone through their transition, to the like yourself, Josie, or like Jamie Dodger, if you're familiar, Jamie Raines,
Yes.
who pretty much can pass as cis regardless, unless they tell you that, unless you tell them that you're trans, they're not going to know, so no one's going to bat an eye. But the problem is that not everyone can get to that point. Not everyone wants to get to that point. I know for myself that while I don't particularly give a shit where I go to take a piss, I also, am largely content to mix up my gender expression, to express my, genderqueer, chaos incarnate, non-binary nature. And so I worry that, because this is something I've heard from other trans people too, is that there might be an over-reliance on focus on cis-normativity and passing privilege when trying to explain why these bathroom bans are absolutely ridiculous. Because, it still might rely upon, someone being able to pass in order to fit in the quote-unquote correct toilet.
Yeah. No, this is actually a very good question and topic to think about, is the idea of passing privilege and picking your messengers when you're trying to make a political cogent argument that is based in community representation. And honestly, it's hard to say, because when we look through, I always try to look at the marriage equality fight, or I like to think about Pride, like the first Pride at Stonewall, and how that fight looked. A lot of that was queer people, but there was also a lot of black gay, black trans, Latino trans. It was actually in a more it was a seedy bar in back then and everything like that. And then the movement was then essentially hijacked a lot by white cis gay men in particular, and then they tried to say, look, we are the ones fighting for marriage equality, we're the ones that are tolerable, give us equality first. And this is kind of like the way a lot of movements kind of end up. You could look at the suffragettes, the same thing, right? Like, black women were told to go to the back of the parade, and then once the black women got to the point of the parade where the cameras were, they turned off the cameras, right? Like, people don't even realize that, like, there's very few pictures of the black suffragettes, because the photographers were only concerned with the white suffragettes at the front of the line, and in those type of parades and marches and protests. So we've always had this problem in political communication worldwide, and we are always fighting against the caricature. So right now, like, if you were to think, let's do a little bit of a deep cut with the GameStop woman that says, "It's ma'am," right? That caricature was the caricature that everybody put into their heads when they thought of a trans person. And so what the trans community kind of did as a knee-jerk reaction, I'm not saying this is a good thing either, that they were like, that's not what all trans people look like. Look, here's some other trans people who are more polite. And then you have people like, Sarah McBride, who wins her election, right? She's the first congresswoman. Now, Sarah is a friend, but she is also the tolerable, like, upper class, white, wealthy woman, trans woman who was like tolerated to be able to be the first trans person to make federal office. But then when you have many trans people that have existed in the past, then you have Laverne Cox making it on the cover of Time, where it was like the trans tipping point. And we were like really excited. We're like, oh my gosh, like an actual trans black woman who is tall and beautiful and having this energy. We thought there was a resurgence there as well. And then all of a sudden it becomes again this respectability politics that always ends up trying to get into the fight. Now, I will say this, and I do have passing privilege. Now, I do wear a trans pin when I'm wearing my blazer. I have my little trans pin on, especially when I'm doing leadership events or when I'm doing politicking or whatever, to show that I'm a trans person, because I don't by any means try to go under the radar. But there have been moments where I've been able to use this to my advantage, where I've talked to like bigoted, representatives in my state of Maryland, where they didn't even know I was trans, and they're sitting there talking to me like if I'm a cis person on why trans kids don't need to play sports, and then like within 10 minutes of the conversation, I jump it on them. Sorry, my dog is being weird. I'm just making sure she's not doing something silly. So then I spring it on them. I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm a trans woman. And then you can just see the panic in her face and the color leave her face, that she's like, oh wait, you're not the trans person that I thought of. And then I'm able to then argue with her as a equal, because she's been considering me an equal the whole time. And then all of a sudden, like, she is no longer able to keep hold of her arguments anymore, because she's completely broken her brain on what that looks like. So there is a value, because a lot of times, what is the conservative argument? Ew, trans people icky. Ew, trans people yucky. And so when they think that, they want the person to have a characteristic of this trans visible person, right? To be able to then point at and say, this is the person that wants to be with your kids, right? And then when you take the argument away from them, there is value in saying this person's just out of their mind, like trans people are just normal people like everybody else. But there's also the double-edged sword of, I'm a normal trans person, but so is the visibly trans person, right? And so there is a dance that we have to play now. Because trans community has gotten so large, you have trans representatives in the United States, for example, that have the whole spectrum, from Black trans women to, non-passing elder trans women, to Sarah McBride, to Zoe Zephyr. There's like so many trans people that fit every box now, that we're able to point at each other and say, no, look at all these other amazing trans people that are doing cool things too. I know it's a long answer and I kind of monologue there for a little bit, but there has to be all messengers, and all messengers have to be placed where they need to be placed. And it is it's an unfair position sometimes, that if I'm going on to, let's say, like CNN or MSNBC, which, I've done, I've done national hits before on media, and I'm able to go into the room, and if the person starts, trying to poke me on my trans appearance, it's going to land flat for the person that's trying to poke me on the trans appearance. Now, if I am more visibly trans, and some of my other colleagues who are also media trained, let's say like Charlotte Clymer, for example, who's a dear friend of mine as well, she's incredibly media trained, but she is not as passable as I am, but she also is able to hold her own against bigots that are trying to poke fun at her transness as a caricature, but she's able to overcome all of that because she's able to completely use her ability to do it. So it's about the people that we choose, I think, more in the certain situations of where we are, but we have a complete repertoire of different human beings that can come on and talk about different things. Trans veterans, we have so many other people that are able to use their identities as a tool in those public media hits. But I, by no means, am saying that only trans people that are passable should be on media. I, by no means, am saying only passable trans people should be making the arguments, because I think that's also self-destructive. So we have to do it all.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't have a choice, Pip. It's the media that chooses that. Like, there are some trans people that can't even go into the room, right? Because there are certain media outlets who are like, no, we want Josie, we don't want so and so, right? And it's purely because of transphobia. And I don't know that. I don't know if they're passing up another person, right? I don't know if I've gotten other positions or other abilities to be in different programs, for example, because I find myself in a lot of programs as the first trans person in the room that's ever done the program before. I know I'm not the first person that's applied for it, but for some reason they picked me, and I wonder why, right? And I have to make sure that And again, I am a victim of tokenization, right? People will tokenize me. The perpetrators of tokenization are the people who tokenize. I cannot help but be tokenized sometimes, but it's my ability to be tokenized and drop the rope ladders down for everybody else and not be the person who takes the tokenization and holds it to themselves. Right. And so that is kind of one of those things that you have to be able to wrestle with. But it's a very complex situation. I don't know, Lux, do you have anything to say, or Pip, do you have anything to add?
I pretty much don't have anything to add. I am sorry.
Yeah,
But Pip, does
you
that
said
make
it
sense?
very well. And I think,
Okay.
I think it goes back, you might be familiar with this meme, but it's talking about gender to other trans people is like Greek philosophers, but talking about gender to cis people is like explaining something to a toddler. You kind of have to start with the rudimentary thing when there's so much misinformation out there. And you're right in that the media will use as many salient exemplars, if you're familiar with the term, the scapegoats, as they possibly can. Like you mentioned the It's Man person, who I don't remember the name of because I'm shit with names, but a big thing that a lot of the context that's left out when discussing her was that she was being wound up from the beginning and the video was deceptively edited. Doesn't matter, because now that the video's out there and it's been taken that way, it's going to be used that way out there. So while I do think that we absolutely can use and should use, you know, quote unquote passing privilege, however you want to phrase it, you know, to our advantage, especially in a culture of cishet normativity, I also think that, you know, people like Lutz can be valued because they are cis-passing but also non-binary. And they show that, you know, they don't need to pass as a different gender in order to be who they are and can fit very well in these spaces, because ultimately the purpose of public toilets is to have a piss and then wash your hands. That is literally it. So cutting through the fear-mongering and all that kind of shit, I think helps, and we can use cis-normativity as a tool to achieve that.
Yeah, and I will also say this, Pip. And this happened to me one time. I think it was like 2 years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember, but it was an NPR interview. And NPR is typically very, you know, I always do my, you know, ASMR voice, which is like, you know, hi, I'm on NPR. I'm just talking. This is how I usually talk on NPR when I'm on NPR, because that's how everybody talks on NPR. But anyways, I usually, you know, I did the whole, you know, because they knew me. I have been a voice on NPR before, and so before I even got introduced, they did 2 sound clips of trans people protesting TPUSA, which is kind of like, I think that's like Charlie Kirk's old group, Turning Points USA. There were people who were trans protesting, calling them transphobes, get off our campus, and they were just like doing this thing. And then they then did another clip of trans people protesting a congressional office in a district in Boston. And then they're like, and here's Josie Caballero. And then they did my job title, and it's like, so do you think that this is a proper way for trans people to protest? And I was just like, and they were essentially, what they were trying to do was try to goad me into saying, I'm the good trans, they're wrong. Right, that's what they were trying to do, and I did not bite it. I did not bite that, and I was like, no, every trans person has the right to protest the way that they did, and I think that those trans people have every right to freedom of speech and the way that we advocate. And then I went to my organization and and I started talking about these different things. We talked for 20 minutes, and NPR hits are normally like 5 minutes, and she was trying to get me to agree with the New York Times article. She was trying to get me to agree that trans men don't really need to have like reproductive care for like different like Planned Parenthood and everything like that. And I just was not taking the bait. She eventually just said, "I'm so sorry, we're just gonna have to cut this off." And I had to go and call my organization to tell my press person to pull it, to say to the producer at NPR to do not dare air that, because that was not what they said that I was going to be there for. They said that I was going to be talking about a Supreme Court issue. They just started going hard about like trans people that are protesting and are doing it wrong, and I would not bite. But that is another thing. That's why media training is so important, especially when you're trying to do national press hits, that they will try to make you be the good trans in the light of your other community around you. And if you are not media trained, you can fall into that trap very, very easy. So that's another thing that happens to me a lot, because I'm the quote unquote passable trans woman, and they will try to pin me against other trans people as they're incorrect and I'm correct. And I never bite, and they don't like it. That's why I don't get invited to a lot of media hits these days, because they know that I'm going to defend and push back and say, "Oh, you like how Sarah McBride is? Oh, great. I like Sarah McBride too, but I also like Zoe Zephyr. Look what she just did." And they're like, "Wow," like, and they're just like, so it is a very unique thing that you have to be able to weave as a person that is in that space. But I also know a lot of passable trans people like Brianna Wu and Blair White, who will just eat those little media hits and say, yes, 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 I'm the best one. I'm better than everybody. And those people need to not see media. But luckily they're not real people, like as far as like people who have real responsibility and power and leadership. So they don't get media hits either. They want people like me to do it, but I won't do it. So there's also that as well.
Yeah, it's important to realize how much a lot of media loves to control the conversation to weave a particular, narrative, and that's something that is particularly insidious about what Turning Point USA and the like are doing, because you see this a lot with like religious preachers too. They are not deliberately going after experts. They are going after literal like university students who don't have this kind of debate and are there to clip farm and take things out of context and make themselves look good. And they
owned. I argued against a teenager and won.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Pip, thank you. It's always a joy to chat with you.
Absolutely. And before I go, I would just give one very quick reminder, is that, again, this UK ruling is entirely advisory, and you have absolutely no obligation to follow it. In fact, it's probably a better idea if you do not comply. You have a great rest of the show.
Yeah, thank you, Pip.
Thanks, Pip.
Appreciate you. Bye.
No problem. Bye for now.
All right. Great. That was a good call. I always like talking about media and trans people, and it's just like I'm just very media trained. I can't help it. It's how I'm built.
It is an interesting topic. I mean, like, we talk about this all the time. It's different types of angles on the conversation of representation, right? Like, we might be able to talk about that in media. Like, does it make sense to read this character as trans or whatever? Or like explicit trans representation. But, how trans people represent ourselves in the media is part of that conversation. So it is interesting to dive into.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So looks like we have another call. We gotta take it. It looks like another advice call.
Yeah, I mean, we can, if you want to like chill for a minute and just see if we can get some people calling in, like, okay, here's the thing, everybody in the chat. If you hit the like button, that almost immediately translates to more viewers and more calls typically. We have about like 40 minutes left for calls. We only have one caller waiting. And if you call in with a contention, we're likely to bump you to the top of the queue. So If you don't like any of the issues that we've talked about today, we are trans, we are pro non-binary, we like they them pronouns. We are pro trans women in sports, we're pro trans women in women's bathrooms, we're pro trans kids receiving health care. So we still got time. 720-619-2288. We got time.
And if you want to go real spicy, tell us how Trump is better for trans people than Democrats. Like, let's do that. I'm down for that.
Does anybody actually think that, or is that a troll? Are you trying to invite a troll onto our show right now?
I mean, I do see the trolls. They're there.
That's true. They're there. I see you in the vertical chat.
I'm ready to feed some. Like, I don't usually feed you, but there is, it can be fun, because
listen. I think it's really funny, and I'm going to make this joke, and I think that you're going to be okay with it. We both have more balls than all y'all. Call in.
Yeah, prove us wrong.
I'm going to grab another drink, though. If you would like to start the next call, that's fine, but I'm just going to step away. Be right back.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and take the next call. We have Bridget, she, her, from California. You are live on the line on the Transatlantic Call-In Show with Josie and Lux. How are you? And what did you want to talk about?
Hello. Before I start, I just had to comment because you guys just mentioned something 2 seconds ago that felt relevant. My own mother at one point got on the Trump bandwagon, trying to argue to me one time how Trump would be better for trans rights.
Yeah.
And for the record, she was never anti-trans against me. She was always supportive for me. So this was not like her trying to tell me like you shouldn't, be trans or anything. So I can't explain her argument because she didn't really have one. So
yeah, no, they do exist, and there are a lot of MAGA folks who think that Trump is just good for all Americans, no matter who they are, and I think it's quite interesting and how they get to that position. But yeah, other than that, what did you want to talk to us about?
So I've always been kind of introverted, and one of the things I find really fascinating about listening to you guys is I didn't really realize how prominent trans was like in our recent history. And I don't mean like the 1970s. I mean like how like the Nazis burned the research stuff. I didn't know it was like that kind of era prominent. And
even before then. Like there's evidence of a Roman empress that was a trans woman.
Oh yeah, well I know like different cultures and like 1,000 years ago stuff, but I didn't realize it was like I thought the resurgence like modern day was more recent. Like in my own journey, I never heard the word trans until I was, already an adult. So
same.
But like you had mentioned before, or like you'd mentioned many times, I knew my identity since I was basically 6. I just didn't know how to convey, the issue I had.
Same.
But in my own journey, I've been very introverted, and I haven't been, as a result, I haven't been very connected to the larger LGBTQ. Where you mean to say the initials wrong? I haven't been connected to the wider community, and I wonder if that potentially might have negatively impact my development in a social sense. Because I guess to expand before I throw it back to you, I've never really, I don't know, back when I was first starting and when I was encouraged to like glance at the community, I just constantly saw people waving, like the identity marker, and I couldn't connect with that because for me, it wasn't a, like, not that I'm ashamed or anything, but it wasn't a trans pride type of a thing, or wanting. It was more of just, I want to learn all the feminine stuff I didn't get to learn with others, and I just, I found more people that were just, and this is my experience, so I know that is not universal, but I just found more people that were just wanting to express, like, their identity being trans, and for me, I just wanted to express my idea, my identity of being feminine.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So Bridget, did you recently come out? When did you come out?
So my journey was, started about 6-7-ish years ago.
Oh, okay.
And so I was about 28, 29 at the time.
Okay. Okay.
In that ballpark.
So I'm just trying to make sure I get to your point here. So are you saying that as a trans person, you don't necessarily feel that you need to identify as trans? Is that where we're going? I'm trying to catch your thread here.
That is one question, yeah. But I guess
Yeah.
another part of that question is wondering, like, if I'm missing something, I guess, maybe, like, is there when I said all that, is there, like, something in the community you think maybe I just found the wrong part of the community? I didn't jump in long enough. I don't know. Yeah,
No.
again, this was something I tried 7 years or 6 years ago. Maybe it's a different community now. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the queer community, right, it's there for, because we all have lived experience. We know that we're safe with each other. There's a lot of reasons why we have community, especially since we're so marginalized. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people want safety. People want to be with people who have like understanding of what's going on. And there's also trans people who are just like, meh, I live in a rural area, I have no real connection. Or I know people who are like, in the military that have no real connection with the queer community beyond, the people that maybe are queer in the military with them. And there's a lot of reasons why people are driven to be a part of community. I always think it's a good idea to be around community because it allows you to be exposed to different types of people. I think that when trans people can be isolated, they think that their way of being trans is the correct way of being trans, and anything different could be wrong. And that's just because people just don't have other experiences with other human beings that see their trans identity in different ways, and how they express it or in different ways. So there's also those type of things, but nobody is saying that you have to go around and say, I'm a trans person, right? Like when I go around the world, typically I am saying that I'm a woman, for the most part. It's usually, but the thing is because I'm a national trans leader for my like day job, and my political work that I do on the side of that day job, I am seen as a trans politician, or I am seen as a national trans leader. And usually when I'm invited to speak, the idea that I'm trans is expected to be talked about. So therefore I'm going to be talking about that I'm trans. But if I'm just like going to the movies, or if I'm just like going to a restaurant or anything like that, I'm not going, oh, I'm a trans woman, I'd like a table for two, please. So, like,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm doing. But now if I'm in a queer space, it may come up for the reason of like, because I could be very straight passing, very cis straight passing. So I have to go to the community and be like, hey, I'm a trans woman, by the way. I belong here. Like, sometimes I've had to do that. It's not very often because I'm pretty obviously very, very gay. But it's like beyond my transness. Yeah. So don't ever feel that you have to disclose everywhere you go. Like, and don't expect it from your own community either. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. That's how I've always looked at the identity and label of transness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true. I
Yeah.
thought it was an interesting thought process of like, is someone, well, I guess you made a point, like anyone's depriving themselves if they're not engaging with other people. But I was wondering if maybe I had been depriving myself accidentally by not jumping more into that community.
I mean, you could look at it that way, but honestly, it's up to you. Like some people aren't that social and they have a very close-knit group of friends and that's all they need. Like, that's okay too. I tend to gravitate to other queer people when I'm doing like game night or things like that, but straight people are welcome at my D&D table. It's okay. He can be forgiven. And so
I do feel
uh,
like, I mean, if you're feeling isolated, right? Like, because I have this kind of feeling like, yeah, it's fine. I can deal with cishet people. Like, it's okay. Like, I can like get by in cishet society. It's not a big deal. But then when I'm around queer people, I'm like, oh, I need this actually. Or even just like, listening to a queer podcast recently, I was like, oh, I don't consume enough queer media. Uh, and like, I want to watch more queer movies and talk to more queer people and stuff. Like, I do find that that's like an aspect of my social life that I want to expand on. But I'm like, I've been out for like 17 years or something. Like, I don't know. I'm at like a deep, weird place. I just moved literally halfway across this country as a trans refugee. So, for me, I'm finding that that is a gap that I want to fill. But, it's not going to be the case for everybody. I mean, I think it's important early on. Like, I did have a lot of trans community early on, and I think that that was good. And then I was like, I don't know if I really need this anymore. And I'm like, yeah, it's actually kind of nice.
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess that's the, I guess I'm sort of finding myself in a similar boat, just at a different stage, I guess. Maybe I started out not needing it, and now I'm deciding maybe it's time I go look.
Yeah,
So,
you're not like a robot. You're like a plant, plant. You don't water a plant every day. You wait for the soil to get a little dry, or typically, unless it's tomatoes, you got to keep those things wet. But
that is
like,
a good analogy.
yeah, like you might need more sunlight one day or more water another day. Maybe you need more company this day and you need more solitude the next day. And those things are going to change and they're going to change unexpectedly sometimes. You're in your mid 30s. Like I find my 30s has been an immense time of like, oh, I had no idea that that is something that I enjoy, but I do. So I guess I'm going to be a person who does that now. So that's weird, but it's fun too. It gives you more to explore.
Yeah.
I guess I do have a question on gender issues. I realized I haven't asked this in a long time because it's just not usually relevant, but you guys might know better. And the last time I got an answer, it was, I don't know, it was contentious, and it didn't feel like it passed the sniff test. So I don't know. You tell me if I'm being dumb or if the other person is being dumb, or I don't know.
Sure.
But I still don't really understand the functional difference between someone saying pansexual and bisexual.
I mean, there's not a huge functional difference. It's very vibes based. Sometimes people get really in the weeds about the definitions on this. So folks will be like, well, pansexual is explicitly trans inclusive. No, that's not the case. Bisexual people date trans people all the time, blah, 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 whatever. What it really comes down to is like, people often prefer bisexual because that term has more history and community around it. People dislike bisexual because it does imply a dichotomy of two things. So, like, maybe you're trying to avoid even suggesting a gender binary, so you avoid saying bisexual. And then there's like people who like pansexual because they're like, I want to be absolutely, clearly, overtly pro-trans in my attraction. Or there are people who are just wrong about the definitions on it, or people who are like, I prefer this flag over another flag. That's kind of where we're at with that. It's like just a term preference. And it's like technically a lot of these words apply to me, and I'm like, nah, I'm queer. I don't really identify as bisexual, even though like technically I'm bisexual. I'll fill out bisexual on a form if it's one of the only options. But like, it's not like I don't identify as bisexual. I identify as queer, right? So it's like, even if the term applies, do you identify with the term and the meaning and the colors and the flag and everything? Like, all of this is a factor.
That's true.
Because you brought up a point I did hear. It was the point I heard recently, because I heard someone say, well, not recent, it was a while back, but recently when I talked about this issue, I heard someone say that bisexual was trans exclusionary, and I'm like, I'd never heard that before. Where is that coming from?
There are some people who do mean it that way sometimes, but like that's a very rarely. But sometimes people are like, I'm bisexual and I only date normal men and women. Like, there's transphobes everywhere.
The super bi.
That is the most interesting one, I suppose, is when you talk to people who are very polite and then you realize, oh, but you don't support my medical autonomy. That's awkward.
Yeah. And again, it's like, it's such a strange thing, because it's like, how often does it actually come up outside of like maybe going to a community gathering, or like maybe put it on a forum? But usually it's coming up when you're like romantically interested in somebody. It's like, oh, I'm bisexual, by the way. That type of thing is like the thing. So it's like, again, there are people who play word games too strictly, and we know that for a fact. And it's like, oh, bi means two, binary, and it's like, no, it's not the way it's intended. It's like, it just means that you
learn your history. Go read the Bisexual Manifesto, or go to my channel where I read it to you for 2 minutes, like years ago.
Of course, they got bored after 2 minutes, and
that's how long it takes to read the Bisexual Manifesto. It's really short.
I'm just talking about bisexuals are like always they're like, oh, 2 minutes is
bisexuals
good
are
enough.
ADHD.
Yeah,
I see
exactly.
What you did there.
It's like, that's what I meant. I wasn't talking about you. You did what you could do. No, I'm just ribbing. I'm ribbing Lux. No,
yeah, we're roasting Lux now. It's okay. I'm gonna taste delicious. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
Ironically, that comes back into why I sort of jumped out when I was because when I first, I think obviously you guys both know the process well enough to know that when I first started doing the transitional stuff, I had they advised me to get into the community, to socialize and to see, and to do all that. So I did do a lot of that, and in my area, at least back 6 or 7 years ago when I first started, there was this sense of like, when I would ask questions like that, there was this this sense of pressure of not that I heard the bisexual answer back then, but there was this sense of like, pansexual means something different in this way, and we've told you, and if you don't understand, we'll suck it up and deal with it. And it didn't feel like a very nice space to me, and that was one of the reasons I kind of backed off, because it was like, for me, I had this sense of like, I didn't have, like, a lot of the people I was around in this area wanted this very affirmative space, which there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, but I didn't need like affirmation to who I was. I wanted to learn and discuss these things, and if I didn't understand something, I wanted to like push forward, and it didn't feel welcoming there. So it was one of the reasons I just was like, I backed off, and now it's years later that I'm wondering like, maybe I should have just looked for a different part of this space.
Yeah, maybe it's like a California queers moment where they bring all that online behavior offline, and like it's like super unacceptable. Like I don't want to be in this situation, but it's like somebody needs to be like, hey, nobody ever explained to you that this behavior is unacceptable. You behave like this online. That's teenage bullshit. And you are in the real world now. And you will start a fight with someone if you do not stop this. And you're going to alienate people. Like, people don't understand. And we're going to have to wrap up, Bridget. But, you're going to have to work with people. If you're trying to improve your community, like you want to help homeless people, guess what? Sometimes homeless people just yell the N-word. Yep. So you're going to have to deal with that, and you're still going to have to serve them lunch when it's food time. Like if you're going to be a member of your community, you're going to have to approach people who are different to you. And it's really unfortunate, Bridget, that you experienced this like gatekeeping Mean Girls bullshit. Yep. In what we typically associate that behavior with extremely online and not offline. But I do hope, if you go out there and if you decide to explore this again, I hope that you find some more mature people who aren't fucking crazy.
That's true. I've been in queer and trans spaces that I just didn't feel comfortable in either. I'm just like,
and like you don't like people sometimes. Like if it's 5 people who are really active in this group, there might just be a personality conflict where you're like, I don't get along with any of these people. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, that happens sometimes.
I was a part of it. I went to this like lesbian group and they were all Swifties, and I knew at that moment I fucked up.
That's so sad. That's why. How? Chaperone is right there. Why are you a Swiftie?
I know. All these lesbians were Swifties, and I'm like, I don't belong here.
Yeah, I need help. I need to get out of here.
I had to like think about all my life decisions that put me into that room. I was like,
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, Bridget, I'll let you get your last thoughts, and then we're gonna wrap up.
Well, quick final question, actually. You said California queer moment. I don't know what that means. Was that a reference to something I should know?
I'm basically just associating the behavior of obnoxious queer leftists online with California. Like I think
isn't fair.
But it's like the liberal annoying queer thing, like I don't know. I'm just like there's a place where there's a lot of queers.
I lived in California for a long time. I don't appreciate this hate.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm new to the West Coast. Maybe this is on me. But no, I wasn't making a specific reference. I was just invoking cultural similarities.
Yes. Well, it's fresh from the mind, fresh off the dome from Lux here.
Yeah.
Your final word. I want my final word to be thanks to all you guys, and I feel like I've become slightly a better person from listening to all you guys line. So thank you to all.
Yeah, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget. Well, have a great rest.
You.
Not to throw. Oh yeah. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Not to throw all those other hosts under the bus, but we're the best.
Yeah, we are. That's what she was gonna say.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you, Forrest. We're the best now.
Yeah, that's right, Forrest.
Just like, I don't know why everybody does that. Everybody has to be like, Forrest is my favorite host, but you guys are pretty good. Like, I didn't need you to say that.
Yeah. It's wrong. It's not okay. Fire Forrest. Hashtag Fire Forrest. Forest fires.
See, the problem is that I also make a lot of money because of Forrest, so I can't advocate for that.
I love Forrest. I just don't like when forests are on fires, but I love Forest.
It's so smoky outside right now. I'm like, I'm glad I already wear an N95 everywhere because I don't need to breathe this shit in too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got one caller left.
One caller left. So let's go ahead and get to it. Let's get to Ben from Canada. He, him pronouns. You are live on the line on the Transatlantic Call-In Show with Lux and Josie. I would love to hear your thoughts.
I just have a question, and maybe a bit of a confession too. Is that one of the things I feel some struggle with, and some struggle with when I deal with the trans issue is, or trans people, is this these mixed reactions that on one hand, I have no philosophical, moral, ethical, or any kind of discomfort or convictions against it. I'm totally fine with it, accepting of it, all this kind of thing. But at the same time, I struggle with, because it is outside the norm of my day-to-day existence. I do admit I find that there is a bit of a immediate emotional kind of undercurrent of discomfort, even though it doesn't, but it still doesn't feel like it rises up to the level of bigotry or hate or something, but there is a undercurrent of discomfort. And I'm just wondering whether that distinction is an appropriate, valid distinction, or is discomfort always synonymous with more of a bigoted hatred mentality?
I mean, if like we could be technical about it, right? Like we can take a technical approach, like because people sometimes do this, Ben. I'm sure you've heard people who are like, I can't be homophobic. I'm not scared of gay people. And obviously that's
Right.
stupid, because a phobia does not just mean you're afraid, literally. It also means just like an aversion, or it's technically like on a scale of a disgust sensation is like one of the ways that this emotion can be evaluated. But yeah, like I would say that if you're just like kind of uncomfortable about the idea of trans people or gay people, that is kind of on a spectrum of homophobia or transphobia, in that it is like a discomfort that you're experiencing that is not based in a logical framework. If you're like, on a logical level, I am pro trans, but it just makes me feel uncomfortable, then potentially that's like something that could be worked through. It may also be, and I'm not floating this at you, Ben. I'm just saying I've heard it before, that sometimes people who have like a general discomfort with the topic of trans people do eventually find out that they themselves are trans. And like that discomfort is in the kind of, psychological difficulty of confronting this thing that resonates with you, and you're not ready to kind of deal with it yet. So I have heard of that happening, but I want to let Josie get some thoughts in.
Yeah, it is you. So I feel like on the last point that Lux just said about internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia is a very interesting thing. I would say it's more societally prescribed. I
And
think
I am
that
specifically talking about the vague kind of discomfort with the topic. Like I'm not talking about like somebody who used to be a bigot, but just like if you're like, I feel weird about this topic, it sometimes is like that's dysphoria awakening is kind of what I'm suggesting.
yeah, okay, sure. I hear that. So we are raised in societies and we are taught hate when we're very young. It's kind of like the stove is hot type situation where it's like, oh my gosh, the stove is hot. I'm not going to touch the stove anymore. That can happen to us, and that can be imprinted on us in a very young age. Maybe it's a family member who is overtly transphobic or bigoted in some way. I remember, and this is, I had a older family member when I was a kid talking overtly about how she was upset that my cousin was dating a black man. And there was like in my mind, and I was a child, right? And so in my mind, it like in my head it imprinted that, oh wait, is this a bad thing? And I walked around the world thinking, wait, is this a bad thing? And so sometimes those things, like, and all of a sudden you see somebody that's in an interracial relationship, and I'm just like, wait, is this a bad thing? And it's like, and it's like, and it's not my fault, right? Of course I'm not, like, I would never think that now or ever wish to think that, but the fact is that somebody could imprint things onto your, like, you're taught hate. And that was also how I was taught homophobia. I was taught transphobia. And it took me a long time to overcome my own internal hatreds of myself because I'm just like, wait, this is wrong. In the Spanish colloquial term cochina, this is dirty. This is wrong. Right. So the idea around all of that can be imprinted from another person. But what's important, Ben, is that you're asking yourself the question. And that is the first step to healing. To be like, oh, why am I having this weird feeling about a trans person nearby? Or why am I thinking about it this way? It's like this really visceral feeling of like trans people think that, no, not trans people, but transphobes and bigoted people think that trans people are icky. They're like gross. There's just something not unsettling, something uncanny that they can't like get past. And that feeling of like grossness can be a lot to overcome because that could be imprinted from you for a lot of different reasons, and you need to be able to get past it. And there is I think the most, I guess, the famous thing that people will say about trans women in bathrooms, for example. It's like, but what if a woman was assaulted by a man and she's just uncomfortable because of the trauma? And it's like, that's not my thing to overcome for that person. That person has to go through therapy. They have to understand. They have to know that they have to walk around society, and I'd rather that person just not go into a bathroom because there's other people there. And could a woman who was assaulted by another woman say the same thing? Right. And so there's this like this thing where we try to cater to people's like disgust and uncomfortability, and that does come from a bigoted place. And so it is something to really reflect on. I know Lux and I said a lot, so go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate. I think for me, I think this is coming off of also an experience that is similar in a different direction, but it can ties to this discussion, and that is that historically, I've felt this similar discomfort around individuals that had, and I'm going to tell you my experience that changed it, but I had this immediate discomfort because it's outside my norm. In individuals that had very externally very severe or profound forms of I'm not sure what the politically correct term is, cognitive delays kind of thing, so to speak. I'm not sure if that's politically correct, but then I worked in community living in a home that dealt with just individuals that had this form of existence. And at first there was discomfort working in an environment with people that I'm not used to or familiar with in my common day-to-day practice. But after a month of working with these individuals day in, day out, it's almost like a form of, in a way, exposure therapy, in a way that my anxiety-based stimuli reduced, and now I just go in and I have no disease whatsoever, kind of thing. And I'm just wondering if, because people who are trans are so outside the norm of my lived existence, whether I never have the opportunity to have that quote unquote exposure therapy, kind of thing, to reduce the discomfort stimuli that I feel. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's 100%. I will even say it in the context of my own family. Like, it took them a lot to get used to me in feminine clothing. Like at first, especially early in my transition, they were like my family were like, "Can you not dress like that?" Not until like for a while you're making people feel uncomfortable. I'm like, "What? Like, and it wasn't until like more and more, and then they understood who I was more and more. Like now it's like weird that I'm not. Right. So there is a little bit of that. Like you're gonna have to almost kind of reprogram yourself into understanding that trans
Right.
people are normal. Trans people exist. We're in positions of power and leadership. We're doctors, we're lawyers, we're the mail carriers, we're the Uber drivers, the taxi drivers, we do everything in life. Trans people are there. We're doing it. And so we're just as
Right.
normal as any other human being on the planet, and it sometimes does take a little bit to do that. And I think, for example, I think we were talking earlier about queer or trans people in media, right? And
Yeah.
how trans people are digested by different audiences just because of that exact thing, where the messenger can make a difference because they're like, oh, trans people aren't that caricature in my head. They're not Dwayne Johnson in a tutu, right? And sometimes it
Right.
takes different shapes and different people for them to be exposed to over time, for them to realize that trans people are just normal no matter who they are. And so it is something that you're going to have to work through, Ben. And I think that
Mhm.
even being able to question it, for you to be able to say, wait, this doesn't feel right, and I think I'm like my internal conscience is off. And
Mhm.
and when you're able to recognize that, that is the first road to healing, right? Because a lot
Right.
of people don't have that self-reflection. A lot of like people who are fundamentally bigoted get outraged by the feeling and don't question why they have the feeling at all. and
Mhm.
and and the idea that you're like, why do I feel this way, is a better position to be than the bigoted person is like, I don't understand it, I want it destroyed, or I don't
Mhm.
want it in my eye line. And there's a very fundamental difference. Now, does the phobia come from the same place? Yes, it does, but it can be repaired because it is just a moral, like, this. It's like a your not your moral compass, but like your internal conscience is off. Right, because like
Right.
there's like your internal conscience is like, no, this is wrong, this isn't okay, right? And a lot of times
Mhm.
that's okay if you're like looking at, like, if you're walking down the road and you see a coyote and you're like, this isn't right, this isn't okay, maybe I should not go and do that, or maybe I don't want to rob this place, or I don't want to steal. Like those things are like those internal dialogues that are healthy. And
Mhm.
but there are people that are walking around thinking that trans people are not okay, trans people shouldn't exist, and that is a misalignment of their internal dialogue and their internal conscience that is telling them that something is wrong and something is not okay. But it can be repaired, just like anything else. You just
Mhm.
have to recalibrate and say, no, this is okay, and then your mind will eventually get used to it, so then it's just normal, like anything else.
Okay. That makes sense. Makes complete sense. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I really appreciate being able to sound off and share my inner conflict with this with you, and yeah, I appreciate hearing what you had to say about it, and it's really
Yeah.
yeah,
And and
help
Ben, I just
help
want to
me.
I just
So
want to I just want to add this. You having the internal conflict does not make you a bad person. In fact, having the question about the internal conflict is what makes you a great person, a good
oh
person. And so you are an incredibly good person. You cannot control what happens internally. It's about what you do once you discover it is what makes you good.
no, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for calling in. I think this has been very helpful, especially for a lot of the people that are in the vertical chat to hear.
Okay. You as well. Take care.
Yep.
Bye
All
now.
right. Bye-bye.
I just have to share some really bad news with everybody,
Why?
which is that Mitch McConnell is apparently alive.
No, I don't believe it. He's on eternity leave.
On eternity leave. That's very funny. Apparently, he. So to be clear, I don't think he's been on camera or anything, but he released a statement. It's from Mitch McConnell.
I don't believe it.
It says he's going to continue doing physical therapy from home because he fell.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what it says.
I want to see.
Today.
I want to see a video. I don't want to see some AI bullshit like we've been seeing. I don't believe it. It's bullshit. Because they didn't want to release that he's dead the day after the deadline passed, that you can't have a special election anymore. That's essentially it. Like they're just like they're like, oh, that's too on the nose. Whatever refrigerator they're keeping them in, like they're just gonna keep them there for a little longer. I don't believe it. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
In American politics, these older politicians, they don't even have to be alive in office anymore. They can just die and hold the position.
For like a couple months,
Yeah, absolutely. It's a freaking special, like a statement, Lux, and you call yourself a skeptic. Call yourself a skeptic.
Listen. I gave it the appropriate caveats. He allegedly released a statement.
There, that's better. That's better.
Okay.
I have a better belief that God exists than Mitch McConnell being alive right now.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair, actually. Well, we're gonna read super chats now, and if you get your $5 super chats in, we'll read them. And yeah, $5 or more. And if you vote with your hashtags, hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Josie, the loser has to defend a silly position. We're very close to a tie.
Are we?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the silly position today, you have three options, and all three of them are pretty close. 32% at transphobes have stinky diapies. 34% each at cats are transphobic, and Purdue is pushing turkey on us. I don't know what the fuck that means, Arden, but okay.
It's a reference to the caller who was like, all he knew how to say was Purdue Pharma and they're going to Turkey. So I was saying Purdue is pushing.
I see.
Not turkey like the deli meat. That's why it's a capital T.
That's much more big brain than I
they
thought.
Also, you're not very woke, Arden, because they changed it. It's Turkey now.
Oh, wait, is it spelled differently now?
Yeah, it is. It's spelled Turkiye, but there's an umlaut somewhere in there, and I don't know which vowel it's on.
It's the.
I take it back.
The U's got the little.
Okay.
It's not big brained anymore.
Yeah. Now you can be appropriately woke. I think the shooter that we all thought was so fun from the Olympics was from Turkey, right? The guy.
Was he Turkish?
I think
he was. Yeah, I think he is. The guy with his hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, his aura farming hard. Anyways,
cats are transphobic has just gone up in points. So look, get your votes in because this is going to be a close race. So you've got like 20 minutes to figure it out.
Don't give me trauma with close races. All right. Anyways.
I'll let you start.
All right. We have $10 from Malaton Ali. PSA, guys, wear your mask. I avoided COVID for almost 6 years, and now I'm infected and miserable because one friend stayed at my house after working a youth summer camp. Hashtag Team Lux, always right.
I know that I'm always right. Here's a backup bonus tip if you haven't heard this before. Salinex Protect. Specifically, Salinex Protect or Betadine. They both use the active ingredient iota-carrageenan, which can help you prevent illness and help you get over illness faster. So use in combination with a mask. And I've been going to class, like 4 days a week for like 6-7 weeks, and I haven't gotten sick. So I think it fucking works. I think the sauce works. Because everybody in my class has been at various points like sneezing and coughing, and I've just been like not touching my mask until I get home.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, thank you, Melatonin Ale, for the vote and for correctly pointing out that I am always right. Thank you.
All right. Oh, did I just clear the banner? No,
You
I didn't.
did.
No, I didn't. Did I? No.
Yeah, you can
No,
click
no, there
next,
it is.
or you can click clear.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry. I know the new system. I got boomer mechanics sometimes.
It's okay. You'll figure it out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Poetical Irony, thank you for the 13 shekels, who says, sorry, Fallout Spinny in the BG. Great show, y'all. I hope you're having fun playing Fallout.
Fun. Yeah.
Wait, where do you see that one? I'm looking at the list for 5 and up, and I don't see that super chat.
So I have mine set to 2 and up because it does not catch the $4.99 super chats if it's set to $5.
Oh.
So that's just mine. But maybe I don't actually know what 13 shekels is.
Okay. No, that's fine.
So maybe that was that was too small.
Okay, yeah, we'll get that fixed. Wait, but I see some that are $4.99 in the 5.
Oh, did Jimmy fix it? Because I thought that was an API issue. Okay.
Wait, why can't keep putting that up? Okay, sorry.
We're figuring it out.
Now,
we're working on
I'm
it.
good. Now we're good. Now we're good.
Here's the next one. That one is definitely over $5. Thank you for the 1723 from Poetical Irony, who says butterfly hug, caterpillar emoji. Indeed.
All right. I will.
Do you want to click? You can click.
I'm gonna click because I'm gonna try. All right. Melatonin, thanks for.
How did this happen?
Okay. I don't know how to do this.
You don't have to click clear. You can just click send on the next one.
Oh.
And it'll just go up there.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
You did
Got it. There we go. Joshua Everett, 9887, $10. As much as I agree with Jason on sports monetization, most of the bans and restrictions are for amateur, high school, college levels, so getting rid of pros won't fix it. Hashtag Josie for president. Oh, thank you.
Hell yeah. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, Poetical Irony. Yeah, I think I've gotten so used to my hosts, like they'll bounce back and forth. Like, so whoever's going to read the next one also clicks the next one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we get into a synergy, and it's great for me as a producer because I'm like, I don't have to do anything. But now as a host, I'm like, my hubris, I have to do more work now. Anyway, thank you, Poetical Irony, for more shekels, who says, oops, hashtag Team Scissor, nut only one. I don't know what that means. Is that asking for us to do rock, paper, scissors?
I guess. Yeah, I guess
that's my best guess. Okay.
That makes sense. All right, ready?
All right. Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay, I got paper. You got me.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, we have to avoid scissoring. That was my goal at the beginning of that.
But you said it. You said it, though.
I know. That's why I had to do paper.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, Professor Rowan, $5. This older guy I occasionally talk to casually said, Iran doesn't need to exist, nuke 'em, and laughed. Othering leads to some fucked up shit. Hashtag Team Lux. Yep, that's true.
True. We got the $5 from Hyena Dyke, who says, deviated septum gang, I have severe sleep apnea and use a full mask CPAP. I have a septorhinoplasty consult at the end of the month. Ooh, hashtag Team Lux. That, yeah, I took I did the sleep test where they put a thingy on my finger and like tested my pulse ox all night, and I didn't show up any like low oxygen. I was willing to try a CPAP, but it's also expensive. So, I mean, they're both expensive, surgery and a CPAP. But in one version, I'm Darth Vader. And in the other version, I can just fucking breathe with my own nose.
I was just like, you're getting in there with the facial feminization, just fix that septum, do it all. You
got your deviated septum fixed when you did everything else? Yeah, that's the way to do it. Just bundle it.
It was the way to go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. I called $4.99 from Intellectual Talks. I called 10 surgeons for bottom surgery and 9 of them refused to take my insurance. The 10th one gave me an appointment in 2029 going to India. Going to India. Yep, for it. Yep, that makes
To get it
sense. I'm
done
sorry to
faster?
hear
Yeah, that
that.
makes plenty of sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. What a crazy long wait list. I
Yeah.
haven't even gotten close to trying to talk about bottom surgery, but I'm imagining it's going to be a similar kind of like long wait or hard to get the surgeon that you want or whatever.
Mhm.
Like I know that OHSU does fallow, but I don't know if it's going to be. It's like I'm like I already had in my mind the team that I wanted to do, and so I'm like,
What are
I
you
don't know,
talking
I'll
about?
figure it
Like
out.
you can't
I
you,
just
you
want to
can just
say
go like a gas station, just get it done.
I
my
know.
surgeon, Dr.
It's just
Hanna, has a wait list of like 4 months, and
Mm,
he's accepted by most major insurance, and he does a method that almost nobody else uses, which gives you a similar result that the peritoneal pull-through method gives you visually, but also preserves the peritoneum because it's really useful to address one of the more severe complications. Still really rare, almost never happens, but if you run into it, it's really good to have that tissue healthy and intact. Look up Dr. Danny Hanna. He's fucking amazing. I could not recommend him more.
just Arden, just she's that bitch where she's just like, I got the best thing ever and it's amazing. It's blah, 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 blah.
Genuinely, all the girls who go to him are in a big group chat, and we were all gonna put reviews on Google and Reddit, and then we were like, we shouldn't do it all at the same time because that's gonna look weird. So we're gonna like start spacing out our reviews. But
that's funny.
everyone who's gone to him has like such good things to say about him.
I am so happy for you. And
Oh yeah.
I don't even like thinking about it. Uh
Legally Mod with the $5 who says, I'm getting my SRS in 35 days. Why? Because I saw an ad on the back of a cereal box when I was 6. Hashtag or sorry, slash
um
sarcasm. Hashtag Team Josie. Yeah, they get you. They get you young, with those
those
cereal
those
boxes.
those vagina O's, like, just they
Vaginos.
the vaginos, yeah. Much better than the plasties.
Yeah, for sure.
James. Oh wait, sorry. Now I'm sending it again. There we go. Uh, and why do I suck at this so much?
You did
Okay,
it
there we go.
right.
Okay, all right, there we go. Zoe Violet, 80, $10. James doesn't realize that there are multiple year-long waits for gender affirming surgery. No surgeons are going out there trying to sell trans people on these procedures. Yep. So true.
I see someone in chat who is asking what rights do trans people not have. If you stick around for about 15 minutes, I'm going to be on another show taking that question. We're not taking questions right now, but if you want to call in, the number is 336-543-2101. The lines might actually be open already if you want to go and get in the queue over there.
Yep.
So yeah.
Happy to answer it.
Yeah.
So you're next.
Okay, you already read this one. Yeah. I was like reading it like, wait, this one already
Yeah.
did. Yeah, okay. Zoe, thank you for the $10 who says, also, Purdue is a pharmaceutical company. They, quote, advertised opioids by giving kickbacks to prescribing physicians. Gender surgeons aren't getting kickbacks from, quote, big vagina. Yeah, that's the big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Unisapien 2009, thank you for your $20 Canadian. I am a drop in a puddle. The shape of the puddle is from the drops that came before me. I don't have a shape until I land. It's like a reverse riddle.
Deep.
Yeah.
Thank you for $5 from Legally Mod, who says James calls are nothing but ignorance and fuels. Such an oxygen thief.
Yeah. Yeah. We have Fern, Valeria, or Valra. That's it. $5. TACIS was important to me figuring out I was trans. Thank you for helping to make me a happier me. Love you all. Hashtag Team Lux.
How do the kids do it nowadays? They do like this? Like this?
No, that's how the Gen Zers do it. The kids do
That's what I
this
said.
now.
Oh, okay. Well,
Right?
they're kids to me. People in their 20s, they're kids, right?
See,
You're in
I'm
your
so
40s.
broken. I'm so broken I can't even. I almost got it. I did it. I finally
There you go.
learned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is what the Gen Alpha kids do.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, thanks, Valira. Unsapien for the 10 Canadian says hashtag Team Josie. Sorry, Lux, I love you too. No, you don't.
Oh.
My voice is tired.
uh, Myra's is it Majora's casket?
Yeah.
Okay, $5. Are either of you or Arden fans of Doctor Who? In my opinion, your Time Lord names would be the politician, the dragon, and the mother. Hashtag excuse my nerdiness. Hashtag Team Lux. I haven't seen it, but I like the title. It works for me.
I used to be big into Doctor Who for like many, many years. In fact, I was just going through some of my t-shirts in my closet and being like, which one of these needs to just go in a memorabilia location? Like, I don't want to get rid of it, but I'm definitely not going to wear it. And Wibbly Wobbly Timey Wimey was one of my shirts that I put away because I'm not going to reasonably wear that, but both for fit and for topic reasons. I fell off of Doctor Who when Capaldi in his first season because I hate the writing. I don't like how they write women. I'm sorry. I'm tired of it. I got tired of how they wrote Clara. The best one was the fucking Dalek one, and then every other one sucked. And I'm sorry, but that's how they write women, and it's not her fault. So I stopped watching Doctor Who. But I'm really a fan of this idea, and people have been saying it for like weeks, at least weeks in the chat that I am a Time Lord, and I am not going to discourage you from doing that. Anyway, yeah, thank you. It's fun. Babs with the 5 quid says, I don't know how you put up with these cockwombles. Hashtag Team Lux. Yeah, I mean, having unilateral ability to yell and mute them helps a lot.
Yeah. $5 Canadian from Unisabian 2009. At Majora's casket, the doctor would be Josie. Lux would be her celery Jimmy, and would be the suit from the same period. You know who you are. I don't know what that means, but I'll take it, I guess.
I am not celery.
You're not celery? I don't
Nope.
know. I don't know.
He wore a stick of celery in his pocket.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
In like number 4 or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
I do
Thank you.
have been accused of having a lot of main character energy.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. Thank you for the 5 quid from Pip, who says queer book recommendation. The dragon has some complaints. It's about a grumpy formerly 4-headed dragon in a trans-inclusive dragon rider society. Interesting. I'm gonna open a tab and I'll read about that later, and then I'll probably not read the book because I'm really bad about following up on these things. But thank you anyway for the recommendation.
Caterus, C, $5. Thank you for speaking up for the community. Biology disagrees with bigoted views. Sorry about ya. Yep.
True. Thank you for, in true spirit of Forest, Jack in a Box with the 5 quid, who says hashtag Team Forest.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Kazoo, Kayaku, $5. Bridget here. I was gonna say a second thank you to Josie for being a politician fighting for us. Felt appropriate after hearing you mention that. Aw, thank you. And it's not stopping. Still doing it.
Poetical Irony, thank you for the shekels, who says mixing water and oil is so gouache. I think that must be some kind of food reference, but I don't know what it is.
It's a painting pun.
Oh, a painting pun. Okay.
I didn't get that one either. Anime Sidekick Gal, $10 to hashtag Team Lux. Welcome to Necrotoxy. Because Mitch McConnell is dead. Yeah.
Necrotocracy. I see.
Necrotocracy. Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you for another $5 from Hyena Dyke, who says, I'm not a pro-lifer, I'm a proof of lifer. Hashtag Team Lux.
Yes.
True.
Why is it? Okay, there we go. Wait. Okay. Nope. I don't buy it. I'm not gonna believe it. It's not possible. Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag Mulch McConnell. Thank you, Joshua Everett, for your $5.
What a mental image that conveys.
I know.
Thank you for the Dublus Mickle, who says, love this channel, loved Atheist Experience fan from 2007 to 2012. It helped shape my worldview. And now as a trans person in my 30s, and this show is helping me. Thank you. Hell yes.
That's amazing.
Very
Thank you.
happy that has helped you, you know. It's good.
Yeah. $5 Canadian from Where is Waldo? Just want to support the show. Trans rights are just the same human rights transphobes take for granted. Yep, that's a true statement.
Mm-hmm. Nicole, who says, forgive me for being behind the times. I was wondering if Josie won her election. You guys are the best. Hashtag Team
Aw.
Lux.
I did not. I got nearly 42,000 votes. I was 1% away from victory. So I was incredibly close. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to run again. So please, when we're ready, we're going to do it. And I'm going to raise 3 times the amount of money this time. It's going to be great. Because now everybody believes I can win. Yeah, sometimes you have to bloody the glass ceiling before they believe in you.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna come back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Aw,
Izu
thanks.
with the $5 who says, hashtag Team Josie. Oh, side note, once I made a queer elf politician OC character named Mitch after Mitch McConnell because I thought he'd hate that or something. Am I wrong?
No,
Yeah, that's
you're
funny.
not wrong.
That's
I love
good.
that. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me. The John Maynard 20 CHFs monies. I am so glad your show exists. I was so ignorant until I heard your education. Please keep going, educating us. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, JJ, for the $5 who says, Jacob from last show. I appreciate everything y'all are doing. I'm learning more and have some questions to help me understand more after this. Yeah, we are happy to, keep that conversation ongoing when y'all have additional questions. I don't think we're taking just general questions on Calling It Now after this, but, I'm going to be on TACIS forever, apparently. We're losing hosts, and I'm just going to be here every week, forever. I was like, man, I want to take off next week because next week is finals and I also have a fucking paper to write. But then it's like, oh, you know what? We don't have a guest. So I'm probably going to be here on Thursday. But I'm not, where I'm not going to be next Thursday is on Calling It Now because you're not getting a double out of me on finals week.
No.
But yeah, thank you.
I can't even schedule time on Calling It Now. I don't know what's going on there. So I need to fix that.
Oh, yeah. You just text Jimmy and be like, hey, open up my availability for Calling It Now.
Yeah. And the last super chat from the John Maynard, $10 CHF, is my donation being received? Yes.
We got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
If it wasn't working prior to that, again, congratulations because you fixed it.
Yeah. And it is a tie.
Yeah, so we got like 2 minutes to get some super chats in to break the tie. Or what were you gonna say, Arden?
Or
Nope,
rock,
that's
paper,
great.
scissors.
Maybe rock, paper, scissors since we're really close on time. I mean,
Yeah.
I would like to generate supers, but I worry when we start that with this audience, they will literally
Sometimes
keep it
it'll
going for
go.
like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Just because they want to.
The next super chat breaks the tie, and then we're gonna run with it.
Yeah, there you go. The first super chat to get in breaks it. We're not gonna like go for a couple minutes or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
Somebody said you should get Mama Meffy on. She was on like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Also, her channel just got nuked, so go yell at YouTube for inappropriately nuking Mama Meffy's channel over a mass report.
Yeah, I think she posted a video on Instagram about it. You could comment on it and also like repost it to your story or something.
No, the host that isn't here very often anymore is Dr. Ben, and Arden is not hosting anymore. So all we have is Riverboat Jack, myself, and Lux right now.
We need y'all. If you guys know any trans people who we should have on as a guest, let us know, or tell them about it and like have them reach out or something. But we would love to have some more people on to try things out. We had Jay on last month, and I don't think that debating is really for him, so probably not gonna have him back. But you know, it was a fun show. Just not really. It's not everybody's speed. You know, sometimes people want to make.
Fiona got in with a Team Lux.
Hey, we did it.
Honestly, I think Jay did a good job. I just think he doesn't enjoy debating.
That's literally exactly. Yeah, I think it's just not his thing.
I was like, I'm so sad because you did a really good job. I would really like you to do more, but I understand.
And he's getting over like a really fucked up thing that just happened to him. So maybe in a few months he'll feel better. You know, that's like a very particular concoction of situation right there. But we did get one more vote for me. Yay!
All right, and we're bringing in
take the wins where you can.
Cats are transphobic
rarely.
Honestly, I think they set this up because it would be punishment for you in particular, Lux. So here you go. Charging up the clock.
Wait, I thought that I just got a vote. Wait, I thought that I just got the vote.
Oh, wait. Oh, you're right. Oh, hold on.
Why would you do this to me? I can't believe you've done this.
I can't believe you've done this. Yep, you're right. I got it totally backwards. You didn't earn the punishment for winning. Josie got it. Hold on. Wait, where the fuck is my input? Change this. Everything is confusing now. Damn it.
We held it together until the very end.
Hold on, chat. We're gonna get there. I promise.
Winner. Aw.
Okay. Josie, charging up the clock now. And 3, 2, 1, go.
Yes, Lux's cat is transphobic. And here just saying, that's what everybody agreed, that your cats are transphobic, which logically, as a skeptic channel, that means if all cats are transphobic, that means Lux's cat is transphobic. So this is what the audience chose to do. So there's a couple of reasons. There's a couple of reasons why. Cats just don't give a fuck about anybody. Really, they're people phobic. And you know, at the end of the day, it's like you just have to bring everything together. And so if cats are people phobic, then trans people fall within the category of people. So therefore, cats are transphobic as a continuation of the word. So I'm just being logically consistent here, because who can argue that cats aren't just a teeny bit people phobic? I mean, they could give us diseases with cat scratches. They act like they don't want your love, and they may make you feel it. They can sit on your face when you're sleeping, or on your chest when you're sleeping, to make sleep apnea worse. So maybe it's not the deviated septum. Maybe it's Kitty taking a little nap when you're trying to sleep. So therefore, the sleep study can't figure it out. So this
door stays closed.
For now on, the door stays closed for now on, because that is what's happening, is that the Lux's cat's transphobia is leading to the sleep apnea. So this is proven because Lux has sleep apnea. So therefore, Lux's cat is transphobic. So you can't argue logic. I'm sorry that you got this news this way.
I just am catching strays. I didn't do anything, and she didn't do anything.
I know. It was like I messed up and made Lux the loser, and then Josie was like, "No,
we're gonna make sure Lux stays the loser."
Right.
This is what the audience paid for. All right,
that's true.
You got to give the people what they want.
It's true. There's no outro music, but you should go to patreon.com/calltheline and follow me on Calling It Now, where I'm going to be next with Ari Mermaid for the next 3 fucking hours. Yeah. Thanks for everybody's support.
That sounds fun. I wish I could do Calling It Now every now and then, instead of having to take work time off just so I can be on the show. But